Very good morning, delegates. Welcome to one-day seminar on internal audit. The first session, salient features of the internal audit standards of ICI. We have with us Mr. H. Venkatesan. He will take us through the first technical session. May I now request the speaker to occupy the dais. H. Venkatesan is a postgraduate in commerce from Madras University. He is a fellow member of our institute and also an associate member of ICSI. He has passed the post-qualification course on Information Systems Audit conducted by ICI. He is also a certified Information System Auditor, certified Fraud Examiner, a lead auditor under ISO 27001 Security Management Systems, and has a diploma in internal audit from ICSI also. He joined Lakshmi General Finance Limited, an associate of Sundaram Finance Limited, a premier non-banking finance company in January 1990 in the internal audit department. Later, the company got merged with Sundaram Finance Limited. SFL has a wide network of nearly 700 branches. Presently, he is the head of the group internal audit at SFL as senior general manager and has an experience of 30 years in internal audit. This department carries out internal audit services for all the subsidiary and associate companies in the group with housing finance, mutual funds, investments, IT, BPO, fund accounting and distribution. With this brief, I present before you CAH Venkatesan. Before I leave the floor to sir, let us all rise for ICM. Thank you, delegates. Over to Venkatesan, sir.
Very good morning, friends. It gives me a lot of pleasure to be always here with the SIRC. Chairman, Mr. Paramasivan, distinguished members, senior members of the profession, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends. Pleasure to be here this morning to share some of my thoughts on the subject of internal auditing and the standards. So the next 1 hour, probably we'll discuss about the framework given by the institute, the standards per se, some of the aspects which I consider very important from the knowledge side, academics, or as well as from the practice, and some thoughts or my own or my opinion on some of the expressions mentioned in the standards, mostly with reference to the practice. At any point of time, if you have any queries, kindly please raise. Members also will probably address if I am unable to respond to that immediately. Like the accounting standards, auditing standards, IFRS, Ind AS, there are so many standards now. Internal audit also has got a list of standards today. So this is the framework given by the institute. There are a lot of segments within that. It talks about the definition of internal auditing, the basic principles of the internal audit, some of the concepts for audit or internal controls or the governance point. What do the standards suggest is what the standards per se, some of the guidance which are purely recommendatory in nature to enable the members to practice, and within that how we are connected towards the ethics and the codes given by the institute. So this is the framework adopted by the institute. This picture is there in the standards itself. Probably we'll take a look at some of the key elements. The standards are applicable basically where an internal audit is carried out, in any company or otherwise, either by in-house or people like me who are working in an organization, having a department and heading the particular function, so which is called the in-house, or by a firm of chartered accountants, practicing professionals. Either way, it's applicable. The standards will be made mandatory in a phased manner. So far, at this point of time, it's only recommendatory in nature, will be made mandatory in course of time. It's stated that for a listed company under 138, the companies have got a mandatory thing that to appoint an internal auditor who is a chartered accountant, cost accountant, or such other professional. So under 138, it will be made initially mandatory for the listed companies, not yet notified as of today. And once it is done for a year or so, then probably all other companies. 138 talks about, the companies, there's a cap, paid up capital, turnover, accepting deposits or borrowings. So there are various companies listed within the 138. So listed companies is the number one. So once you implement for listed companies, probably you will get to know some issues here and there, and most probably it will get, stabilized over a period of time. And the next year, the other companies will probably have to follow suit. So that's the intention of the standards. All other companies 1 year down the line. When we mean mandatory, what we mean is we have to comply with the standards. Which means if there is a non-compliance, it gets reported, there is a dialogue in the company and outside. So if the members who are practicing, implementing the standards in the company need to follow in all strict discipline. That is the essence of the standards. So more importantly for me, number one, understanding the standards. Number two, or basically go and implement in our companies or where we are practicing. I guess some of you or most of you are the listed companies or auditors of the listed companies, to which most of the provisions will apply. At this point of time, it's only recommendatory in nature. Maybe it will enable us to take it. Some of the thoughts I'll cut here from an institute point of view. The institute recommends adoption by non-members, which means as a member of ICAI, I need to follow the standards when it comes as a mandatory. The institute encourages the non-members. Why non-members? Because 138 section says it is not only the internal auditor need not necessarily be a chartered accountant, maybe a cost accountant, maybe a other professional like company secretary, like CIA or some IT professional, depending upon each company. CIAB, maybe a banker. That validation may also be there. So if there is a certificate, the internal auditor need not be a chartered accountant. He can be a CIAB, he can be a certified internal auditor globally. Some other qualification which also he can run the show. So the institute suggests that though you are a non-member at this point of time, still they have to carry out the standards. That's the essence. So that the consistency and quality in what you deliver to the company or to the public would be there. So that's the intention. I also understand ICSI, Company Secretary Institute, also come out with standards on auditing. Many of us, we are members from Solution. Some of you are also members from 2 or 3 institutes. So the Company Secretary Institute also recently come out with the standards, including there is a guidance note very recently issued in November, which is the period is over by December 5th. So at this point of time, they also issued the 4 standards on auditing standards. One of the guidance note also suggests that where the company secretary, the whole time company secretary, the company secretary in practice, where he holds the capacity of internal auditor under 138, where he is appointed under 138, he has to follow the standards mentioned by the ACS Institute. Similar provisions, when I read through the standards, all mostly the clauses are similar. So these are the existing standards. So the 138, the company secretary also, where it is recommendatory from 1st of July 2019 and it will be made mandatory from 1/4/2020. Today from the institute side, CA institute side, it is not yet notified as a mandatory provision, but going forward down the line, 4 months from now, we will have company secretary institute side for applicable for a company secretary in practice doing an internal auditing service. So that's typically what's the developments happening. So from the institute standards, it's applicable for all members. It's applicable, encouraged for non-members as well. The framework starts with the definition of internal auditing. Many of us, all of us, are aware about the definition. I'll highlight key points. IA provides independent assurance. That's the keyword. Similar to the key reporting points in our statutory audit. So it's a key reporting matter. Independent assurance is a word which I consider as the most important on the effectiveness of internal controls, risk management process, and governance. Earlier, the definition focus was more on the independent management function. So to me, it appears the focus earlier was on the job per se, which is the function as a department or as a job, as an audit, the status like that. So it was more into the function of internal audit, what it needs to do. Today, the focus is on what is that you are going to do. You come out with some assurance, you come out with some recommendations, things like that. So there is a shift in the calling as a management function to specifically on you give assurance. Things are okay, not okay. If it is not okay, how do you prevent such things in future, find out root cause. Those are all various elements which is described in the standards. Earlier it was said continuous and critical appraisal. Today it need not necessarily be a continuous appraisal. Actually it goes on prevention mechanism. So there is lot more value addition embedded into the internal auditing, not specifically. So earlier it was a full-fledged, line by line. Today it's very clear saying that whenever you do an independent assurance, that becomes an audit. In the exposure draft, before the release of the final standard, the word contribute was there before the words governance, which means the definition risk management process contribute to enhance, which means the company is doing the enhancement process and you assist them. Today we are also part of the system. There is another standard most important for all of us from the statutory auditor point of view. There is a standard on auditing practices, which is 610, where the statutory auditor is expected, or if he wants to take the assistance, direct assistance or the reports of the internal auditor, what is that he do? That is the standard of SA 610, where also the functions of the internal auditing as such is mentioned. I would encourage members to internal audit people to go and read those standards, which is more interesting and which gives a lot more insight into the function of internal auditing than even the internal auditing standards. So which talks about the function that performs assurance and consulting. So it is not only provide assurance, it's also provide assurance and consulting, which to me seem to appear, from the global standards. There is a IPPF, which is an International Professional Practices Framework from the Institute of Internal Auditors International, from where this definition was already there, which talks about an internal auditor mostly commonly understood as only a giving an assurance function, but is expected to do a consulting activity. Consulting in the not in the normal sense of you go and can take a process and do a consulting activity, which is not there, which is a recommendation, suggestions given by the internal auditor also amounts to the consulting activity. So the same CA Institute standards in another standard talks about assurance and consulting activity by the members. Other things remain the same, which is the value addition for the governance and risk management and control processes. So to me, if you look at independence, if you look at assurance, if you look at some of the recommendations, value addition, bias, if you put it that in a shape, that comes to an auditing. As auditors, we are not critic. In my practice, I have understood that it is not only the knowledge that counts, it's also the relationship, it's also the mindset of the internal auditor, which should be accepted by the company or within our own peers. So our auditors are recognized not only by the report that we give, but also how do we behave. Most important for an internal auditor to continue his profession in the child, without compromising any of the ethical standards mentioned by the profession. So one or two points probably I thought I should share on the independence. The institute suggests that we can take an advisory role. People who are really doing the financial statements, which are called the company's auditors from a statutory point of view, will look at financial statement true and fair view, not more than that. Internal auditor is expected to tell that this process I have verified, this is right, this is wrong, what do I do to prevent, what is the root cause, how it happened, what the control, is it working, not working, fine. We can also take an advisory role and then suggest what we can prevent for. Many of the companies, people will look at auditors as the first person. In my experience, for example, if we take a systems automation, there's mention about the operational role, acceptable limited operational roles for systems automation. Many of the companies would go for the automation, any change in the digital era now. So they would like to take the assistance of the internal auditor, whether there is a compromise in our independence if you are able to do that. So we have the knowledge to do, but are we the owner? How do we tackle? This is what the standards suggest. So when the company asking us to do some digital transformation of some process into other, we heard a lot of robotic automation here and there. There are companies who come and tell us, please do this for internal auditing, it will be very helpful, data analytics, I will help you, all that. So company can also in-house manage the show, and if in that case the company may ask you to go and help the IT team to do that. So while we do, whether we can do, first of all, if you do, well, are we compromising the independence? How you are saying that you are giving an assurance when you take up the role of doing an audit for that particular thing. So this is a very practical issue. While the auditor is capable of doing, we'll have to have two hats as a consultant, or which means as an advisory. Yes, we can take these things into action before you implement a system. After all, the company would expect you not to come and criticize once you implement. So you invest heavily in a project and do a lot of put manpower, time and energy is invested into the project, and it comes as a tool for the company. After some time, if an auditor comes and says that this lacks this particular control, the investment goes waste. So the company would always expect the internal auditor to come and tell upfront in the design itself to, sir, this can be like this can be tuned like this, so that the result will deliver, which the auditors are capable of. So in that sense, it is not an assurance function, but we are wearing a cap of an advisory. So to that extent, any system automation, anything on the process re-engineering, from a manual process to automation, from an existing machine to a computer system, from a robo system, all that is all the re-engineering where the auditor will be able to give insight into what can go wrong or what can go right and what should we do to prevent those things, which is more into the prevention mode than a detection in the normal sense. So to that extent, auditors has got a limited operational role. We cannot assume the ownership of the process. Even if something goes wrong, we are also part of the system. So to that extent, company will also protect us, and there won't be any bias and influence will be there. We need to tell them in the scenarios, the standard suggests that we need to inform the company management that we may not be able to assume the ownership, and we cannot be the operation, we can't take the operational decisions. We have to work with them and see that the company is also benefiting. The standard suggests that what is independence really? So from undue influence, free from any undue influences. We hear from paper, media, that there are a lot of auditors who are under pressure from the company management. Many people do ask me, how independent are you? How do you say when you are working in a company, you are saying that you are independent? Is it not the external, practicing form of chartered accountant be right, for doing an internal auditing? So how do you say that you are independent when you are getting a salary, when you are getting promotion, when you are getting, shares from the company and all that? To me, the people can look at differently. Independence, according to me, is more from the mindset and not necessarily from what it appears. The standard also says in the next line that it is not only in mind but also in appearance, which I personally feel different. I personally disagree with the also being appearance. It's not a status that you sit outside, which means that you are independent. Your view should be unbiased, whether it's a managing director, whether it is a line functional head. What you are going to say is you are going to say that. So that's where I view as an independence. And the freedom is also given only by the company. So the independence is actually flow more from the top and not necessarily from only the internal auditor. The company or the management style, the culture of the organization also does matter. So the companies will actually encourage when you are unbiased. And really the internal auditor's credibility comes more from the fact that you are unbiased. So if you are saying that without due recognition of what the head says, this is my view. Whether you agree, disagree, or you take it, implement, fine with me. So when we give a suggestion, if the management say that in some respect we may not be able to implement, leave that and give it in some other form. So rather than pushing, no sir, I am giving a suggestion and they are not taking. That need not necessarily be the route. So to me, the independence, very thin mark, but that's a hallmark of our profession. If there is no independence, probably we may have to think twice. So the auditors shall resist any undue pressure. This is a protection given in that. Many of them in companies may not necessarily be able to do so at some point of time, and that's why they are sometimes called for explanation and things like that. And such standards also gives a comfort for us, taking some different stand in future compared to what we were taking in the past. Having said that, there is the same standard, SCS 610, it talks about independence. It says that although there may be the audit procedures are same, neither IA function nor internal auditors are independent. So for me, when I say independence is the hallmark of the profession, another standard does say that it's not necessary that the internal auditors in-house not necessarily be the same. Contrary views, but independence, we need to establish. We need to be unbiased. We need to say this is our view, and why are we saying this? We need to have a backing. Any questions on independence? So that I can also probably try to respond. If not, I can recollect and probably give an answer to that.
Regarding the scope of assignment, what is the role of internal auditor?
Yes. The interference in establishing a scope, your meaning. So who prepares the scope? The company side also says the management has scope in consultation with the internal auditor. That's what 138 section puts at. So who prepares? Generally the internal auditor will understand each and every process or an auditable unit in the universe. So we come to know what the company is doing, what are all the various processes involved, what do I do? That's a paper that we need to submit. Probably management will go and add, statutory auditor may also have a look at and go and add or modify as the case may be. So who really prepares? practically the internal auditor has to start, because that is their job, you know better. But the call has to be taken by the audit committee or the company per se. The management has to, they have to own what they need to do. That's the difference between the the Companies Act, when it gives for the statutory writer as well as the distinguished from the internal auditor. So who really prepares? Practically the internal auditor has to start the preparation. Probably the management has to plus.
This need not be in the scope, this should be in the scope, that I can tell as an internal auditor.
Absolutely. We can also mention that some of the areas which we are not covering. Rather than putting it, this is what the scope, I can also say these are the exclusions in the scope. Supposing if I am not able to see the recovery point in my business, so I am not able to see the recovery side of the some customers. So the recovery portion I can eliminate. So the scope does not cover 1, 2, 3, 4. We can give an exclusions, which should be specific into the scope. In case of any unfortunate event happen, we are bound to ask for some explanation. We can give that. So the scope is actually the Tharaka Mandram for us. This is what it is. I'm working based on this particular document, and it is recommended and approved by the audit committee of the company. So that answers yours. So there should be an exclusion in the scope. Probably would help us, and that should also be agreed by the directors. Some of the basic principles mentioned in the standards, which all of us as auditors aware of, I'm not going into depth of all this. Independence, I have talked about. Integrity, this is the very essence of the audit profession. Professional care, confidentiality. When you deal with customers, like depositors, customers, personal data and all that, there are always a confidentiality. So skills and competence, I'll give one particular point on skills and competence. These are the principles on the credibility of the internal auditor, which is as a professional, yes, this needs to be done. There is no compromise on any of these things. Doesn't require any elaboration. Elements for some of the IA activities, which says that risk-based approach, which is very important. Systems and process approach, which need to be about rather than a testing scenario, rather than a sampling size. So we need to take out companies, big companies, huge processes, so many functions, so many people. So how do you deal with all the process, all the transaction? So for example, if you take the credit cards, or the debit card swiped by any banking, numerous transactions are taking place. So how will you go and see? How will you go and test? So you will have to have some methodology of selecting the sample, methodology of testing, all that. This is what risk-based systems and process. So how do you prevent? Rather than you already borrowed some 20,000, instead of when you punch 10,000, if it delivers 12,000 rupees, there is a wrong thing happened already. So instead of saying 2,000 rupees, the machine delivered wrong. You have to prevent. So that's the role of the auditors. The company would expect that. Whether the standards puts it or not, the company will always expect the auditor to go and test that. So non-participation in decision making, so as auditor we have an independent view. That itself shows that we are independent when I am not taking a decision making process. Sensitivity to multiple stakeholders, maybe in our example, a branch manager, a company head, company secretary, there may be people in the committee, so everybody will have their own ideas and views. So what is the auditor to do? I can't say yes to everybody, I can't say no to everybody also. So this is my view, people to take. So we need to be very objective in our assessment. That's what it says. We'll see about the quality and the continuous improvement. So to me it appears that the basic principles are the credibility of the internal auditor and what the elements are performance. One point which I thought I should share, in all these years when I am a student or attending some seminars like you, this risk-based approach and systems approach have been told only as a technique or a tool for carrying out an internal audit. Today it is a part of the internal audit, which means it is a principle. So if there is an internal audit, you may have to do only that way. To me it appears that if you do any other way, it is not internal audit. It's a very as simple as that. May not necessarily be the right opinion, but I am guessing it could also result in saying that only if you do risk based, yes it is, otherwise no. So the way that we looked at as a tool or a technique, a methodology in those years now gone. It's all a part and parcel of our own auditing. So one of the point I told that, the first one is the law, skills and competence. The standard also suggests that if the internal auditor lacks certain expertise, for example, there is a cyber security which is essential for an internal auditor, let's say. If that's a requirement, and if we lack, as a department head, we don't have that expertise in the forensic or cyber security, probably we can hire somebody within the team, or we can also have a professional and do it for us. We can outsource that activity and do that. So the standards expect the skills and competence as a whole, and not necessarily by the member, and that's what the clarification. It's also good to see that standards also talks about a team. I'm clearly proud about that, because many a times or nowhere I've seen standards talked about a team of auditors. They talk about the auditor, they talk about the professional as a member, like that, not as a team. So if we have a big team, so if some of us have got expertise in the business per se, typically in any corporate we'll have several processes. We have a lending operation, we have let's say we have a deposit operation, we have a treasury operations. So everybody, the auditor need not necessarily have an expert in all the fields, not necessary. Today we need to know more about mobile. In those days when I started auditing, we have a lilac pencil, the violet color pencil. Those days we have a tick mark. There is a ledger here, there is a voucher here, 1,000 rupees, 200 rupees, like that. Today there is lilac pencil is not there, there is no notebook. Everything in a mobile. So sitting at home, people transact 2,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees in a mobile banking. Even the Satyam ticket or a Swiggy, everything is paid online. So where is that you go and tick which 200 you have paid to Satyam or Swiggy? How do you keep tallying? Tallying trial balance is no longer there. Though there is a tally software, there is no tallying of your entries of debits and credits. It will tally. So the first thing when we joined, we were asked to see the tally total the debits and credits. Today it's not there. Everything is on a computer system. Everything on a manual. Parties, customers, they remit money in our accounts, online portal. So we have other problems. The security, somebody hacking, somebody taking the money, somebody, taking away the rupees. In those days, for example, I go to, to buy some, sweets or something. So they ask for your credit card. So today we swipe the credit cards, okay, and the credit card has come with initially with we have to sign. In those days, few years back, we were signing the credit card slip. Then there is an auto chip involved, so there is no sign required. Today there is also a tapping, so you go and tap that, everything goes online. And people are expected not to see. In some machines, even in the ATM machine, if you see, there will be you are advised to close your keypad and then put your number. Why? So I used to wonder why that I should keep the keypad locked while inserting my PIN number, because somebody else next standing behind you will come and see. How ethically is it right? Why should I behave that when in front of me somebody is putting a number? Why should I see, first of all? So because it is not there, there is a request to every borrower or every client saying that you please close that keypad and then transact. Why should I? Why should I see the other's number? So it's not there, and that's why these are all the standards which is required. So we have come a long way from where we were, and the pencils have gone, online transaction, everything online. So today the expertise of the member may not necessarily be on one segment, so we need to be alert on IT, we need to be alert on forensic, we need to be very crisp on the mobile banking, everything instant. And if it is not there, there is a deficiency in services, a customer will come and complain. The boys and girls are much better in the banking or in a mobile scenario. My daughter was much better in the mobile banking or any of the apps that they are operating. and compared to the earlier guys that I need to have everything intact and then ensure and then go. Today people are different. The youngsters are much better. Actually, they do a much better job than actually has. So in that sense, the standard suggests that the expertise need to be as a team and not necessarily one by one person. These concepts, which are all aware from the auditing standpoint, internal control, we've been hearing for a long time, risk management, governance. So GRC has been there the last 20 years. Compliance with the law is the first thing that we need to understand. So I'll skip this on concepts. They indicate that these things need to be known by the auditor. This is the new number series. Earlier it used to be 1, 2, 3, 4 to 19. Today it's all series. So if any standard starts with 100, it's a key concept. Anything with 200, there is a auditing assignment. Like 500 specialized. There is no, so far 500, 600, 700 have not been issued. Only one in 100 and a couple of things in 200 to 300. There are 19 standards as of now. So mostly the 200 to 300 series. So each standard with the different vertical. If you look at internal audit management, it's not only about the tools, it's also about how do you manage a particular department. Also there in the standard, which according to me is something very interesting. So they don't stop only about the sampling, the analytical procedure. They also know how do you manage your department. To that extent, standard have gone in depth. These are the revised standard. If you can compare this 100 as a key concept or 200, the number is about 210, 220, 230, which are all the same series. 300 is the next series, like that. So managing IID function is what, how do you manage the department when you have a big team? How about the planning, objectives? So as I see the standards from a company's auditor point of view, standards on auditing covers all this. So I used to wonder why there is independent standards for internal auditing. If you put as an auditing standard, probably everybody is auditor, so you need to go and do that. So why should I repeat documentation or evidence or planning activity, which is there in the SA, standards on auditing while carrying out the financial statements. That's a repeat. SAS Institute come out with the ASB, which is a auditing standard board of ICSI. So they have come out with auditing standards, so which include for internal audit, they mentioned. So here there is a 2 tracks for statute writers as well as for the internal auditors. Maybe more to come. These are, today there are only 19. So this is a revised standard. Some of these were existing standard, now revised. Some of them are still yet to be done, which is continuing, which is a sampling. The revised version of standing is yet to come. The number is only the 5, maybe about the 380, like that. I'll touch upon a couple of standards which I find to be very interesting, and some of the things to share. So sampling, analytical procedure, quality, consideration of frauds. I'll touch on the consideration of fraud as a role of internal auditor, and I'll take some questions on that as well. So internal control, basic work for us, ERM, IT, very relevant in today's how internal auditor cope up with the technological impact on the companies. So how the customers, depositors or anyone, the clients, the intermediaries deal with the company, what you need to see, whether there is a controls aspect built into the system. What do you think? If you lack some expertise, how do you build up that? This is what the standards do suggest. And related bodies, as from the accounting standard, from standard on auditing, from also here as a reference. So these are the standards. Some of them have already been revised, some of them are in the process. So I'll talk about few things which I consider very important from the practicing side, and give some insights and thoughts. One is the risk-based approach. As I said, it is no longer a tool or a technique, it becomes part and parcel of internal auditing. That subject itself per se is very huge. Systems and process, mostly on the very robust techniques and well-driven, process-driven, and accountable, all that, and quality. Risk-based approach, as from the this is purely from the internal auditing side. They say that we have to look at high risk areas of the company. I guess from the people who are from the corporate, they know that they have to understand what the company is really doing. As an internal auditor, the good starting point is about the knowledge of the entity. There was a separate standard on knowledge of the entity. So without knowing the knowledge of the entity and the the laws and regulations governing the company, probably we may not able to take up the further steps. Example, if I am from an NBFC, so I need to know what are the regulations of Reserve Bank of India in terms of what deposits I need to accept and how prudential, how do I account for the NPAs and things like that. We also deal with the National Housing Bank, the Sundaram Home Finance Limited. The regulator is the National Housing Bank, so we need to know about the aspects of various regulations of NHB. We also have Sundaram Mutual, which is the SEBI regulated entity, so we need to know what are the laws and regulations of SEBI. So there is also an IRDA, which is the Royal Sundaram or Sundaram Distribution. So we need to know the insurance product, so we need to know what is the rules and regulations of IRDA. So we have RBI, NHB, IRDA and SEBI, most of them, and some BPOs, IT, so we have a FEMA regulation, things like that. So the laws and regulation itself is a very ocean. Every day, with thanks to the WhatsApp, thanks to the many of the the notifications, alerts sent by various institutes, various members of the institute, office bearers of the institute, these just do send a lot of messages, what's that, the latest. If you go on, read all these things and try to implement, actually in practice, if you see, there is no time. I always have the experience that, download, you go to a website and download. For example, if you go to the CA Institute and download international, there are many papers. There are 200, 300 pages. So downloading is actually a very simple exercise. But if you go and read, the uploading is actually a challenge. So download is actually very simple. Upload here takes time. You need to go, read, take a printout. Many of us, like people like me who are not so conversant in the mobile, we used to read the text line by line, and then we have to understand, then we have to interpret, then we have to suggest, then we have to put an implementation and go and tell the company that this is what the KYC suggests. So it's not the question of reading a Google News, okay, papers. No. That's why I used to say, even our friends, we get lot of WhatsApp messages. There are many videos, many photographs. Okay, instead of reading all, go and try and follow only one. Good messages, good speakers, good, probably the thoughts are also there in many of the videos. Many songs get downloaded. At the end of the day, what are you going to do? The next day, next forward will come. Okay, keep on forwarding. Go on, try and digest one. Follow that in practice. There will be a good transformation for all of us. So in that sense, there is a plethora of laws and regulations, and keep on, every day there are amendments. So we do not know at the end. If you ask me, what is the rate, income tax rate today for a senior? Probably we have to, sir, 1 minute sir, go to the website and see. The website would not have even updated. Or we have to go, that time they will be stuck in the, the communication line and all that. So again and again we go and download. So people are most in the habit of downloading, and it takes time. Uploading, day to do. So like that, understand the laws and regulations of the entity, keep doing what the company is doing, what are the processes involved, and then you have to do it. It's a very big exercise. So the standard suggests take some high risk areas. So what is then high risk? That's a perception. So you perceive that this is the job which, if not happening, what will you do? Example. So in our company there is a lending operation. So there is a document given, signed by the borrowers. So documentation is the major portion. We consider documentation risk is the highest for us. And money, supposing if I lend it at 10%, if somewhere I make a mistake as 9, and the 1% is a financial loss. So if we deal with 20,000 crore of rupees and even not 1% for a year, will come to several lakh of rupees. So you put one particular person only to arrest that. So we perceive areas of high risk into the organization, see that you please address those issues. You may have to have understanding of that particular process, and the people should also have the skill set to do that, and you please go on drive him. That is what the practice. So understand about the high risk areas with the intention not to avoid the low risk. Even if you don't do a routine auditing, but don't miss the big one. So that's the message. Don't miss the big one. They say they need not cover the whole process. So if you start covering all the process of the company, then it will take a couple of years. Imagine big companies, big banking sector, huge, every 1,000 lakhs of operations every single day, online transaction, credit card operations. Which one you will consider most important? Is it the company? Is it the amount? Is it 1 crore and above? If it is 1,000 rupees and above, what will happen? 2,000 is all fed as 4,000. 1 crore may be right, but 2,000 every day may be as 4,000. There will be also a financial loss. So there are many things which the auditor need to consider. It's not only the cap, it's also about the various testings, methodologies. Very important controls, not necessary for each process. And risks are more aligned to overall strategy. So at the end of the day, you should align yourself with the company's thought process. So that's the essence of the risk-based audit. So even if you miss the small ones, don't miss the big ones. What is big? It is according to you what you think as a big one, which the company also need to think, yes, you are right. Otherwise you lose your credibility, you lose your recognition. Systems and process moves go beyond the normal testing where you have, sir, I have taken 3% of sample size. But the problem may be in 97. So we can establish the 3%, but we will omit 97. So your testing methodology also should be robust. So it is not only, sir, one document per branch. No. Anything above 1 crore I will do. Like that. So you can select samples. There are software to select samples today. So we need to find the root cause. We are not here as a critic say that, sir, I have verified this process and this is wrong. That's not expected from an internal auditor. You need to know what went wrong, how went wrong, who does it, why is it, what do I need to do now to prevent something incorrect. So we are moving mostly from people-driven process. Sir, go to that accountant, he is right, sir. Today that cannot be there. You go to, even if you take a telephone call, it gets press 1, press 2, press 3. You can't just simply talk to the individual guy. So you have to go to the root. So the people become more process-driven, and people, the company will always expect the first question from the auditor, what did the auditor do? We hear from the papers, from media, wherever there are episodes of frauds and some wrong things happening. The first question is, what do the auditor do? That you can't prevent the company's mind. The people will ask. We may have standards say, no, auditor is not expected to detect the fraud, sir, it is a management call, then I will only do. But they will ask you, what have you done? So how it got escaped from your eyes in the last so many years? How long this has been happening? What are you doing? These cases, these questions bound to come, and we need to be very alert and answer to that. So the idea behind all the standards, as I see it, is more from detection to prevention, which is good for the company from any business. None of the business experts or business MDs will agree that, sir, I have found out some 1 crore flaw there and now we'll fix it, sir, from today. Okay, fine, but what did you do? So how we got missed? Why have we not checked earlier? All that, we need to answer. There is another area of quality and continuous improvement. The standard is yet to come, but it has been mentioned in the preface. Quality, once the auditor do many such things from a planning exercise and, do a field work, comes out with observation. So how do we ensure that the quality is also right? And when we have a big team, how do we know that the department or the auditor is doing a good internal auditing service? So there, like we have a peer review mechanism in the chartered accountants for statutory auditors. It's also now brought in for internal auditors. So one is the self-assessment mechanism. The department persons like us will assess. So this is what I budgeted. These are the jobs. That this is what I have able to do. So there are some 95%. So I am unable to complete the 5% in time. Probably I'll take it in the month of April or May. These are the high risk areas I covered. I fully covered the high risk areas. So some parameters to show that your own KRAs, so this is what the performance indicators. So my KPIs are this and I have achieved this. That's the self-assessment mechanism we can do that. Institute also suggests about the peer review. One of the team member within the company, within the department or outside the department within the company may also come and audit us. Because after all, throughout the full year, we are auditing others. Now checking whether they are doing their job or not. Who will audit us? So the institute suggests that the other person, that's the peer review, they can come and audit us, whether we have done the planning exercise, whether we have completed the audit, whether we have conducted in time, issued the report with the quality, are we writing some sample, but we are doing really a sample. Those are the tests and balances. The others can come and audit us, which we should also need to do that, which gives the credibility for internal audit. So when the other person comes and tell you that the internal audit has carried out all the processes according to the expectation, it's good for us after all. So that's the way. So one is the self-assessment mechanism, one is the peer review mechanism. Unlike the practicing chartered come and peer review group, here it is not that. It's within. We can choose some other line function head can come and do that. To that extent, he becomes the auditor and we become the functional person. That's what we do in our office. The standards also contemplate on the external review once in 5 years, like statutory writer or any professionals can come and make an audit of the company right from planning exercise to delivery. The international practices framework, they suggest about once in 5 years compulsory external people should come and audit, or the ICAS AI standard, earlier standard now talks about one not less than 3 years. In the standards that are going to come, probably they may say 3 years or 5 years. So there are three. One is self-assessment, one is the peer review, one is an external environment. I'll take a few minutes on some of the salient features of standard. One is on the planning, which I consider very huge or a big challenge for any practicing professionals with the big companies or banking, things like that. So scope, functioning and periodicity, we have about 800 locations. Imagine what SBI will do, what other big banks, mutual funds, companies will do, what are the transactions, what periodicity, is all concurrent, is all online. So when do we do? So we should arrive some methodologies, arrive at what periodicity we need to run. Is it all annual exercise? Is it all a quarterly exercise? Is it a monthly exercise? Is it a daily? Is it a pre? For example, to quote my own example, we also do an NAV verification, the net asset value, which gets published in the papers. So there is a pre-audit of the transaction. So this is an audit. Within that there is a concurrent audit. Within that there is a pre-audit. So before when you invest, before 3 o'clock, as an investor we go and deposit, like let's say 1 lakh in a mutual fund. They give a time stamping before 3, and that day's NAV will only get published by the day end. So it should go to the AMFI website by 9 o'clock. So people also there till 9 o'clock. So we have our office hours. So we need to change their office timing from 1 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So around the clock there are even auditors are also working. So we get published, papers will get published. They pull out from the site, and tomorrow morning we'll see whether it is 13 rupees increased to 13.5 or gets dropped to 12.5, I lose some money. So that figure is also checked a pre. So which is actually a methodology by which we give. What will happen if I make a mistake in some lakh of rupees, and many of the investors' money also will go wrong. So to cut across that, the SEBI also mandates concurrent audit on the mutual funds, and things are like that. The scope, functioning and periodicity depends on what do I audit. It is the money that on a day-to-day, is a one-time documentation, is a one-time collection of your title deeds, an RC book, an insurance, things like that. So it is the perception, it's the exercise to be done by the auditor, what you need to do. how are you going to combine? So, as the questions asked by the gentleman here, the board in consultation with the auditor, the scope is also driven by them. So it's blessed at the end of the day. Though we start preparing the exercise, it is approved by the committees. So comprehensive, usually covering the whole entity, very huge in our experience. Lot of things from the business units, legal entities, subject to internal audit. This is the challenge for some of us. Fully understand the entity's environment. Take years for a person to work in an organization, understand the robust and the changing. When I joined, I'm here in this company for the last 30 years in the internal audit department from day one after completing my chartered accountancy. That's the only credit for me. So I've seen what the company has grown from those 2,000 rupees or 2,000 crore, now 30,000 crore. So how the growth? So we are also into the growth, and we see many branches, many people, many processes, many automation systems development for us. How big is the team? How many were there so far? Today 8,000 employees. So how big it is? So fully understand company. So there is today only a lending of a car. Today commercial vehicle. Today entire financial services industry. The entire thing. If you have money, come here and deposit mutual fund, insurance. You pay lending, you pay housing, you pay car, commercial vehicle, many things. So all the processes, whether internal auditor is expected to fully understand. Quite challenge we are capable of, but it takes time for us to understand. The risk is spacious, very dynamic. Risk is not actually, is there a risk we need to know. This will also keep changing for a period of time. Operational challenges, every day there is an operational challenge. We don't know when. I also think, when go to the office, because today we will do that. If we go and sit there, something will come, and whatever we thought at the start of the day, probably we will not even take it up, and we skip and go tomorrow, next day, and then do. So that is the dynamics today. Everything happens for a change. There is a need to connect the financial aspect of the business with other elements. I do not know what is industry dynamics, company's business model, operational intricacies. All these are internal auditor need to be fully understand. Have things in place. How are you going to plan and complete? Which is a quite challenge. Probably in course of time we'll all understand and we'll do our best to those companies. One more point on the risk. Undertake independent risk assessment. I do not know how many companies do a risk assessment, first of all. Here the expectation is auditor to do independent risk assessment. Not only that, we also go on align the risk assessment done by us with the company. It's a huge time constraint. It's also the company may also feel that there is a duplication of work by you. So rather they will ask you to be a part of their risk management process. That's where in the independence we have seen you can take a role of independence, take the role of risk management, provided in an advisory capacity without compromising your role. So company, you have to do an independent risk assessment. Company will do a risk assessment. You please go and align. It is also aligning. It's also not that two parallel. So how do I align to company? Company may say, what do you know? I'm the business hand. I know how to run my business. What are you talking about? You are an audit. So there will be a lot of conflicting ideas, views, suggestions, and probably it will only go and have some criticisms for internal audit. So we should go and try to avoid. And though we understand there should be a way of talking to them, there's a lot of conversation expected to happen. The dialogue should be very, very, very mature. It should be that way. Okay. So they also say, may also plan to undertake. So as if the company will run a risk assessment, so it is for you to go and assist them, take a process and go on. So none of the companies will be ready to do that. Most of them may not. Some companies, very high mature, they understand auditor's role as well and then do. So it depends on what the top management actually view the internal auditor. So it is not only the internal auditor telling most about internal auditing. The company also should understand how relevant it is, how helpful it is. Only then they will also be able to take the call. So in my opinion, out of all the standards, I feel this particular slide will have more time for implementation than any other slide. Most of them is possible. The other standards probably I touch the next 5-10 minutes. This is on the any questions on the planning exercise? Anybody who has done a robust plan probably will come and take your views. Robust planning exercise, there are softwares available, there are how do you do a planning which runs to months also many times. Okay, we'll take that. So consideration of fraud, as I already said, the institute suggests that the auditors need to have the knowledge of identifying where things can go wrong. They leave it at that stage, which is called in the normal parlance as the red flags. Where things can go wrong, we need to highlight. Yes, this is the money that the customer is going to pay. This is the money, if it is not entered, it may not go to the bank. So there will be a loss of time. In those days where the check is collected, from the customer, probably I may not deposit into my bank. So there may be time delay between the day on which I collect the check and depositing into the bank. Today, mostly from a mobile or a laptop, I transact into the bank and my credit is instant, immediate. So today, the loss of time is not there. There are still customers who are paying, the bus or a lorry operator still pay cash. So there is an element of risk involved, inherent risk involved in the cash collection. Despite there is a lot of thing about the digital techniques and all that, not all of them are tech savvy. Still there are sizable percentage they transact in cash, which is inevitable for their business. On bus, today bus also they give some slips, I believe 13 rupees, 10 rupees, they also give a machine. The auditor of that particular bus transport, they need to ensure that whatever you give a slip, they also go to the server. That's the risk that he takes as an IT technology. So there is a maker checker concept. When you key in 13 rupees, the 13 rupees goes to the server, and how much buses in a day. Probably that auditor will have to take that. So to me, the auditors, the standard suggests that the auditors know only the knowledge and skills to identify the indicators, not necessary to detect the frauds. This is from a standpoint, the standards, international standards talks about that, CA Institute talks about that. But the common man or the public or the company head will always expect us to say what did the auditor do, which will take time. Probably our standard also will go there. So to that extent, if we do more from the prevention point of view, these are all will come down. So that's the responsibility of the auditor, not to detect frauds and prevent. It's a call of the management, but we certainly do help them. The company, the heads probably has to understand that. That's the situation. Managing this only just to give a highlight that they don't talk about only the frauds, the analytical procedure. They also talk about how do I manage the team. So we have a process manual, we have a resource plan, how much people do you require. So we have a chart. Supposing let's say we have a 70-member team today in our office. In internal auditing alone, we have a 70-member team. So 70-member, different mindsets, young boys, girls. Somebody from operations, somebody knows about technology, somebody knows about the branch operation, somebody very good in financial, somebody knows in computation, somebody knows IRR, somebody knows discounted cash flow method. The expertise are over with many people. So it's not that one auditor knows everything. Absolutely not possible. So we need to have a resource plan. So whether he is a CA, whether all are CAs, no use, because you need to know what is hire purchase and what is leasing. So we need to know, as auditors we know only the analytics, but the nuances of the legal. So we have a legal person, we have a person from the deposit, we hire person from various functions. So all function people are form part of the internal auditing. Only then the internal auditing also will have that much knowledge and the commitment to do the job. So it's not only the analytics person can do everything software can do, not possible. Software can't do unless we give the knowledge to the software. So the resource plan, the inventory of resource capability, not only number of people, how many days this job will take, I have to assess. There will be a budget, versus actuals. There will be a resource capability, somebody may be NBA, somebody may be CA, somebody may be CASSP, somebody may be a cyber forensic expert. Yes. So I need to know who is leaving today, other companies, so I need to take care of the money side. So I need to give a very good ambience, very good environment, professional environment, only then he will stick. So there are a lot of challenges as a leader, as a head, when you are with a varying capacity. If that be the case for one department, imagine the company, or company's MD, company chairman, how will they manage? So there is an external pressure, there is an industry pressure. How the competition, how the rates are, how? So that's, the internal auditor is expected to undergo all these things. So inventory of resource capabilities, so I need to know who can do this particular job. So for example, when I say KYC, okay, you receive all the papers, anti-money laundering. So we need to know how to bring the data into a shape and see the pattern, whatever, predictive analysis, all that. So we need to bring in those things for implementation. We need different resource. So inventory of resources capabilities we need to have, and progress monitoring reports, things like that. So the point here is the standard does not stop only with the auditing techniques, also about the team, the building up, to deliver a very quality audits to the company. That's the expectation. The standard also suggests some of the guidance notes, they may come out. So far no, already there are technical guidance notes on the internal auditing of various industries. Sugar industry may be different, cement industry may be different, NBFC may be different, IT company may be different, insurance segment may be different. So all audits are not equal. So everybody will have their own thoughts and processes, and each one of is different. The company, the institute will come out with many literature, technical guides on internal auditing of NBFC is already there, insurance is already there, BPO is already there, many companies are already there. So those kind of things are also going into the guidance, so people can keep track of that and do. And
Can you throw some light on your
which one, sir?
quality evaluation for the previous slide?
Yeah. Quality evaluation program of the members within the team. Probably, example, so when a person goes for auditing, so we tell them this is what you need to look at. Okay, so all the person may be a junior or a fresher who start the career. So somebody that may be a reviewer within the department, so we review the report. So it is not that you ask them to do and he has done and give a report to the company head, may not necessarily be the right way. So somebody, there should be what we do is we have a team which gives the knowledge before you take up the job. Supposing if it is a KYC, then I need to tell them what is the expectation from the regulator, these things, so there is a checklist or some things need to be aware of. So we tell them, which need not be by one person, which may be a group of professionals, tell them that this is, for this job, this is what the expectation from the audit or from the company. And when he go to the field work and all, somebody is there to assist him. So when he go, he will be on leave. When he comes, he will be on leave. All that will always be there as an administrative hurdle. So to ensure quality, somebody else will review. There is also a maker checker within the audit department. So he goes as a field work. Somebody will come and check in for review, and then gets vetted, and then issue a draft, and then discussion. The auditee, accepts or rejects. And there is a dilemma happening, and we see that yes, this is very much required to be published, then we ask for a response. So that's the quality evaluation program. And when you say the persons are all doing excellent jobs during the discussion, at the end when the company comes with the KRA for all of us for a promotion or a level increase and things like that, you will also ask, you are saying I have done extreme good jobs, and why you not been getting promoted? Which is nothing to do with the standards, but from the company point of view, it is also required. So as a leader, we need to think through all and then take a correct decision. So quality evaluation is that reviewer, maker checker concept built in, the discussion built in, report discussion built in. So code of ethics, above all, whatever said and done, we are all practitioners, we are all members of the insured, so high ethicus. So utmost integrity. So when we self-discipline, I have learned in my life that self-discipline is the hallmark of the profession. So when you start implementing whatever little bit that that becomes a habit and you practice on that. I follow to share my own experience in life. I follow Katrapin Nirke Adarkitta, which means the famous Tirukural. Karke Kasarada Katrapin. Katrapin Nirke Adarkitta. You follow whatever you are studying. So if I study auditing, I follow auditing disciplines. If I follow values, I need to implement the values. So when you start doing that, at the end of the day, you don't require somebody to tell you. So typically I don't require a traffic signal to tell me, please stop. If I know somebody, if I go at that speed, somebody will come and hit. Either me or he will, I'll get wounded, so I stop. So I don't really require an act, a regulation or a statute to tell you, please do this way. So when you start implementing many of these standards like this, probably the joy is much more than even the interpretations. Many of us as accountants, as a tax practitioners especially, we only see the minus side of that first. We see what is the loophole, why this has been done, no, should have been done that way. Okay, first take that essence of what is that you are supposed to do and do that. Probably we will enjoy much more, which is what I have my own experience. So if I stand ethically and morally right, probably people or the peers working with me also will take that as a role model and do. If I don't come to the company at 9 o'clock, ask him, somebody who comes at 9:20, why are you coming at 9:20? He will only laugh at me and go. So as auditors, there are a lot of challenges, simple of timing, many things. So whatever we read, it is not enough. We need to go and share, we need to go and implement. Take that. That implementation only will help us. So I have talked about the definitions, principles, code of ethics, and when you try to implement all, probably the institute expect all of us, the implementation, the definition forms part of the standard, which is an independent assurance. How do you do independent? Sitting alone or unbiased? That's a call we need to take. Assurance, yes sir, yes. If it is managing director, yes, this is wrong, this is right. Sometimes people give a comment like Nakira Paramparai. Many times people used to tell me, no sir, is what it is. That's the standard we keep ourselves. So it says the standards form part of the underlying foundation principle. Definition forms part of underlying principle. The IA activity should be conducted in line with the definition. Applying professional judgment. At the end of the day, I also indicated when I said that independence in the not only in mind but also in appearance. That's what I beg to differ with that view because of this. So I go over substance over the form. So appearance is only the form, substance is the mindset. So if I know that this is my view, yes, you reject, no problem, but this is my view. And people also will know that this person will only tell the truth. Yes, that is the credibility of any internal auditor. I'm sure it is not me, it's many people I have seen. They are all very highly recognized internal auditing people, highly recognized what internal auditing set up and they make the company a lot more. So applying best professional judgments. At the end of the day, it is not the computer system. Computer system will only throw out the exception. It is you who have to see that this is right, this is wrong. System also will give you that exception of right and wrong. But again, you will have to form an opinion. That form an opinion system also will only give you the hint. It is us, which is the professional. Professional will tell you that this is what it is good for us. So to that extent, I always believe that the profession will go always substance over form, which is good for all of us. I wonder how the internal auditor will look like after reading the standards, reading the risk assessment. Go have you don't know where to start, where to end. And in the middle there may be mobile, there may be old system, there may be independent systems. How do I connect? Sir, the payroll there is a system, sir. Secretarial there is a system, sir. Deposit there is a system, sir. But how do I connect and give a financial statement? So what connection? So whether it is all getting transferred by automatic, no sir, Excel sir. despite, I've also seen that despite various systems, top ranked system, finally we also come down to the Excel and download from the system, then upload from that Excel to the another system. Sir, it won't speak, sir. So this system and this system basically are the same. So at the end of the day, we download from the system, upload here. Sir, banking software is different. Our system is different. So how do we get to know? Those are all the joy that we can do. So I feel that internal auditor will have so many hands, so many legs and do the job, which is the expectations, though we are all capable of doing that. Okay. So that's it. And you have to tell me, thank you very much for the patient hearing. Any questions I would like to respond. Otherwise others can supplement. Any questions on internal auditing standards per se?
Will that be a standard report wordings once we have to give an assurance? Once the standard
Yes.
gets...
There is a standard on reporting, reporting as such as a, there is no our, we have examined like that. Today that report format is not there. What the report should contain is there. So we need to who are the recipient. Supposing internal audit report should not be addressed to anybody. You have to address to the concerned functional head. So the addressee, to whom, what is the date on which you should issue, what is the signature, including the number, membership number if you are in practice. So all that are addressed. So the report, though the format of the report is not there, the report what it should contain is already there in the standard 8. Anything else?
Yeah. Do you think the summary of the internal audit report will become part of the annual report?
I guess may not necessarily be, because 2 reasons. One, this is voluminous. So it's not that internal audit report today is only a one-time affair. Not at all possible. As I stand here, I also verify. Somebody there verifying what is going on. Because that's also the dynamics of the financial transactions. Every minute.
You talked about certain things like entity risk management, right? So in areas like entity risk
Yes.
management, will you incorporate
Yes.
entity?
Yes, if you see any of the company's financial statements, the board's report, there is a paragraph on audit committee, there is a paragraph on internal auditing, there is a paragraph on what do they do. So in our report, in our annual report, if you see, the internal audit carries out an exhaustive, comprehensive coverage of so and so, so and so, which is tabled to the audit committee. They also give suggestions, most of the suggestions are all implemented, which is a credit to internal auditing. So every financial statement will carry a paragraph on the control mechanisms. To that extent, not the report, not possible. We issue 1500 reports, for example. So not possible to, each of them a different risk profile, each of them has a different recipient, things like that. Everything compiled, that itself is a big exercise. Compiling all the reports issued during a quarter before the audit committee itself is a big task. So because the branch manager or a functional head, their area of implementation may be different. They're looking at from a top, the governance is slightly different. So from a materiality point of view, something also will go.
So with regards to documentation, so while carrying out the internal audit, many times we are also having access to data which is very sensitive information. So where if we find any of the issues, how do we document those things?
There is a good question. So basically one of the discipline for us is the confidentiality. So we are expected to not to share unless otherwise required. Even the audit reports is not supposed to be not given to outsider except for the regulator when he is asked for, or a statutory writer when they come here, or any of the investigating agencies, things like that. So otherwise it does not go to other person, and it's there is a standard on documentation if you read. So how long do you retain? ICSI also standards on documentation. They say 8 years from the date of signing the report. Keep note of that. Within 45 days you need to compile. 60 days in some standard on auditing procedure. So the documentation is the ownership of those working papers or the reports and all that is ours. When there may be changes within the department as well, or the heads may change and all that, the custodian is the internal audit person. Whether we can share the information outside, absolutely no, which is what expected. But who will ask and you would get a permission, sir, this is what the credit rating is, supposing let's say credit rating agencies ask for internal audit report. I can't do that. So I have to get why and the reasoning behind that, and if I am convinced, yes. Things like that. So we need to be very sensitive of giving your paper because it contains what the company is doing. Have I answered the question?
My actually question is, see, there are certain informations where we have only given access to read at the company's premises, neither we can see.
Correct.
So how do we document that, those documents, or if any issues which we find in the place where the data is not shared with us, or when we cannot carry on the data,
Okay.
it is there at the company premises.
To me, not sharing may not be the right way. I think as auditor we are obliged to get that. So if there is any issue in not getting, probably we need to escalate that and get it happening. So to me, not.
Limitations?
There may be limitations from the other side to get convinced about why are you requiring that for an auditing purpose. So if you go and talk to them, find out what makes them, why are they restricting you. The standard also suggests that there won't be any restrictions on you to get. As an auditor, it is your duty to get that, and only then you will be able to come out with a good audit. So to that extent, fine. But there may be restrictions on the 4 MB file, giving, and a PDF file giving to you. That they may not be able to do. So you have to log into the domain of your. I can access, even now I can access only my web mail and not the company's system at any outside, which is a security point. So as an auditor, if you are within the domain of the particular server, you come inside and then log. None of the companies will be able to share outside, though you are auditor. To that extent, that does not mean that you are not giving. You please go there and log in and take the system. If you don't have an access, go and ask your CFO or a manager or a DAC, even including up to the committee level, go and tell them this is what I need. That is possible. Company may not be in a position to share outside that domain, which is the server is there. I may not pass on that information. My system is here. You come and download. I'll give you a system. I'll make some arrangements to you. It is your user ID, password. You do whatever you want. That is possible. That's a workable solution. Per se, I don't see anything restricting the internal auditor to get that. We should, as if you are an external person to the company, go to the company and make an arrangement for getting the data shared to you in a particular user ID password, and do start working on that. That's possible. None of the company will be able to give a login ID outside when at free you can do it. No, not at all. Not possible. Any other questions?
How to communicate with the statutory auditor?
Communicate with statutory. Excellent. There is a section 3, SA 305, 315 and then 610 deals with the relationship of internal auditors and external auditors and others. So it talks about what we do is share our the reports, the planning exercise, though there is nothing that the statutory auditor should approve of, but as a way of governance, whatever area, the scope document or a schedule or a planning exercise all been informed to the statutory auditor, who also comes to the audit committee, sits in the audit committee. So he knows what really we are doing. We also have access to all our reports. Like what he said, we also cannot print every report and give. So everything, there is a reporting tool. Reports are also issued only in the system. It's not even the web outlook. It's also the system tool is there, because I can't give 2000 reports or day-to-day reports in a mail and all that. So I'll have an inbox, you will have a sent item, all that. So there's a reporting tool available. So the statutory auditor has got the access. If you want, you can come and audit us. You can see any of the reports. These reports are also compiled and tabled to the committee, where he has got the committee folder. So the statutory auditor will know what are all the jobs of the internal auditor through a planning and the scope, and what reports are we issuing. When we say we have completed everything, you will also say that it is not done. And to that extent the standard comes to him, and whether he take a direct assistance of the internal auditor or the reports of the internal auditor. That's why I said 610 for all internal auditors comes very handy. So it talks very high about internal auditors domain. Okay, so that's the how the statute writer will come to know what are we really doing, what are supposed to do, and in case if we have got any comments about this is the area where I need to do, there is a workable solution. So sometimes he may say I can do a physical verification on 31st of March. I will go some other day. So it's not that I also go on 31st March and he also comes on 31st of March. Not necessary. I can take physical verification in a 30th September and he can take it in December, something like that. Though the responsibility on the statute writer is much more from financial statement, that's what the standard suggests. So we can work towards a common goal of the company, possibly. Though the objectives are different, the methods, the yardstick used by us may be similar to what we do.
What will be the responsibility of internal auditors in case the past data is getting modified by the process owner, the data owners?
Yeah.
And as a result of which the audit report becoming or appearing to be wrong
Okay.
reporting to the audit committee. In
Good.
such cases, what is the protection available to the internal auditors?
Good point, sir. Sir, I think we need to dwell on the IT SIA 14, which is the IT environment. Many of us today, I guess that all of us members of CA need to know about the IT control, basic IT controls, maker, checker, segregation of duties, BCP, and system development programs and all that. Not necessarily a CISA or a DISA only can do that. We also can do. So in that sense, how the past data is modified is what the questions, I suppose. So the first of all, we need to understand how the past data is modified. So whether is there a restriction, is there not a restrictions on the day and month end closures. We also have 31st of March as a cutoff for directing NPAs, and the balance sheet dates. So you can't go and process a receipt before. Those are all the system controls that we need to check on and comment on, and then take the company into confidence. So the root cause of why the past data is getting changed is what need to be addressed. Go and ask, how are we really doing? Why should they keep it open? And what makes them to go and modify? So that's an issue we need to alert, which is the duty of the auditor. And probably sometimes, I guess there is no reason for modifying a past data, except for some entry corrections and things, where also it is the subsequent issue. So you need to process another entry to nullify the original entry, possible. That's a normal route. So I process a receipt. The receipt is wrong, so I kill that. So what I do is I proper return entry. That is possible. So instead of modifying what I typed as 1,000 rupees as 10,000, then there is no control. So you can't make people I receive cash of 1,000 rupees and change as 10,000. Not at all possible. You need to know why. But it can happen when really the 1,000 rupees cash is presented as 10,000 and he modifies within the day possible, but not subsequent to that and go and change the past data. So you have to look at what makes them to change and who changed that. Even if there is a past data correction, who does that? So is there a power for the person who transacts the particular voucher or a receipt? He himself can go and correct and he can do anything. So that's what the maker churches. So there should be a provision for someone else come and do the changes. So the modification right may be given to another person and then he can do and he monitors that. That is also another way. If you are not convinced about the past data entry. So that should be root, and you should also know why are there. So if you look at the reasons, probably you may be convinced. Or if it is not, then you will not escalate that. That's what we do. So there is no modification right at the source because there is no maker checker, and if the modification is different, then probably you can accept. Those are all there in the standard. If you go through standards on in IT technology environment, fine, these things can be addressed. Any other question? Otherwise I'll take it as finished. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Venkatesan sir. You have set a good start for our one-day seminar. May I now request Alexander, senior member, to hand over a memento on behalf of SIRCFIC. We can now break for tea and reassemble by 20 minutes. Good afternoon and welcome back to the second technical session. We have with us R. Sridhar sir. He will take us through challenges in project-based internal audits in construction industry. Sridharan, he is a commerce graduate from Madras University. He is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, member of Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Institute of Cost and Works Accountants of India. He is an MBA in HR from the National Institute of Personal Management, Kolkata. He is a fellow member of the Insurance Institute of India, Mumbai. He has worked in many leading private and public sector organizations, which includes Larsen & Toubro Construction, wherein he has served for more than 20 years. Specialization includes internal auditing and internal controls, risk management, forensic audit, and corporate governance. He is in the board of the Institute of Internal Audits, a Madras chapter, and also past president of the chapter. He is a regular speaker for various in-house training programs in L&T and in various other professional bodies. With this brief, I present before you Sridhar sir. Over to Sridhar.
Very good morning to my dear professional colleagues present here. At the outset, first and foremost, let me thank ICAA SIRC for inviting me for this internal audit seminar, giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts on the challenges which we face when we do the audit of construction and infrastructure projects. Before we go into the presentation per se, I just want to know from the participants, how many of you are working in a corporate or firm doing exclusively internal audit? They can raise their hands. Firm or company, corporate doing internal audit, very few. So the balance, I think, are from practicing firms, I can say. It's a variety, taxation and other finance and other related areas. Good. So definitely, it will be a new exposure for you. See, when we do the internal audit of infrastructure projects, what are all the critical challenges and issues we face? Probably, you can apply some of them when you go for your work area. Before we get into that, I just want to share with you a small story to begin with, so to set the context. There was a contractor, a builder, for example, just to put it in lucid terms, there was a builder who does a lot of construction projects, especially residential projects. He was in that business. So he was having a lot of subcontractors under him who used to execute the project and as per his order, he will go and they will do the work and then they will execute the work. So he was having a lot of subcontractors under him. There was one subcontractor under him, whom he really likes, or the trust with that person was at the very high level, and he is very close to him. He has done many projects for this builder. One day that subcontractor, he felt see, I have done enough construction, enough projects I have done, why I should work further, let me take a break, it's enough is enough, let me retire from the business and then go to the next phase in the life, he takes a call. Then what happens, he goes to his builder, the main contractor, and then tell him that, this is my decision, I have taken a call to stop working in the construction projects, I wanted to retire from the business or profession. Then this builder was really surprised. Then he asked, why, you are doing a good job and, you are already in the, done a lot of good work. Why suddenly you have taken a call? No, don't go. He tried to convince him as much as possible. But this person, was not in a mood to listen, or he doesn't want to go back from what he took a call. Then finally he says, that builder, he was having no choice. Then finally he says, okay, you have taken a call, to go out of the construction business, no problem at all. But let me make one small request, he said. Then this subcontractor, he asked, you tell me what is that? See, I have got one project. I already took that project. I have decided to do that project. So I want to give that project to you only. So why can't you do that project and then close it off? After that, you can take it. For my sake, just do this project and then we'll say bye. Then he was thinking, what is this? Again, this man, he doesn't permitting me to go. Then finally, he says, okay, I will do it. Then he took that project. Then his mind was not there at all. See, what is this? This man has forced me when I want to go, he has given this headache to me. His mind was not there, so he was not at all involving himself in the project. He just put some inferior materials, the labor contract to give to some inferior contractors. Just like that, work was going along. And finally, with great assistance, he completes the job. Okay, then he finishes the job and then meets the builder, the main contractor. Tell him that, I have finished the job and here is the key. Just because of your request, I have taken this, I have finished the job, as now let me go, he says. Then the builder says, see, you have been working with me for very long. I have not done anything for you. This key is for you, please take it. He gives the key to him. Then what would have been the reaction of that subcontractor? You should have told me in the beginning itself, I would have done a good job. Now in the last minute you are telling that this house is for me. I have not at all involved myself in the project. With inferior material, with substandard work I have completed. Now this house is coming to me. What is this? He was really, you can imagine the situation in which that subcontractor would have been. In construction, this is very important. That is, your heart and soul, if it is not there in the project, whatever the output, it comes from that particular thing, it will be always a substandard one. So, especially, I am not saying that it is only applicable in construction. It's applicable for any business, any function, anywhere you work. Your heart and soul should be there in that. Then only, the finished product will be coming out with great quality. What would be the average, ambition of an Indian, who are there now? What would be an average ambition for a person in a life? They study, they go to a job, then finally what they say? I want one house. I want one house. This is the average ambition of a person. Okay. So for that, what they does? They start looking after the projects or houses. Once they get a job, they filter the various projects according to their various requirements. They shortlist the builder, and then finally they decide, yeah, this is the house I want to buy, and then finally they go for that. For that, what they do? They put all the savings, whatever they earn till then, they put that for the project. They also borrow from the financial institutions, take that money, and finally go and get that house. Just for a minute you think this house is for somebody else who is going to buy that house. What would have been the fate of that person? So once lifetime earnings we are putting in the house, whatever we are earning till your retirement, we take that and then buy that house. if that house is not to our satisfaction, if that house is of substandard quality, if that house doesn't meet your requirements, what would have been your feelings? We should always keep that in mind. So in construction business, quality of the house is the topmost priority. If a project doesn't go as per the stipulated quality, what would be the impact? I would say the impact is twofold. One is visible impact. Okay, we all know what is visible impact, and I can always share one example which happened in Chennai, the twin tower housing project at Mughaliwaka. What happened to that, everybody is still fresh in our mind. They constructed with substandard soil, then the basic testing and all they have not done. They constructed with substandard workmen. Then finally, people's hard-earned money went to the project and they couldn't get the house. Still, it is hanging. Okay, so it's very, very, very difficult, and people who are all involved in the project has to put all their efforts they should put that, and feel that nobody should be unhappy at the end of the day. There are other invisible impacts are there. The same project if you take, what would have happened to the bankers who have lent the money? Of course, the customers who have took the loan, probably their EMI they may be paying. Okay, for the builder, they might have funded. How they are going to get that money? And similarly, vendors who supplied materials, how they are going to get the money for the supplies done. Likewise, subcontractors. So it is very, very, a situation whereby unless everyone puts their heart and soul in the project, probably the success of the project will not come to the desired level. So with this brief introduction, in fact, before I proceed, I also want to tell you, today how many of you seen today's paper? There is one news item has come. Because of this, the regulatory authority also are tightening the compliance level. The RERA and other requirements have come, which was not there 20-30 years back. Now, if any default happens by the builder, especially from the reality residential segment point of view I am talking about. Okay, if any non-failures or if any non-compliance are there, there are statutory authorities, regulatory authorities are there whom will take necessary action against the builder, and then see the interest of the consumers are protected. Today there is one news item has come. I don't know how many of you have seen. There was a delay in the project, and for the project, the builder, he charged interest for the delayed payment, and the forum has decided that no interest will be payable by the purchaser. Instead, the builder has to pay interest for the delay. So this is a landmark decision, I would say. Probably who have not seen today's times, it has come. So like this, many cases can come if non-compliance or if the builders deviate from their commitments and put the buyer into problems. Probably the legal course will be very tight in future. How construction audit is different from other audits. So even if you say the erstwhile accounting standard, there was a separate accounting standard for construction projects. So you cannot put everything in one basket and then revenue recognition can happen uniformly for all the businesses. So construction industry, construction revenue recognition concept was always unique, and it was kept aside separately, and separate standards were there earlier also. One key differentiator which makes construction project a unique is the life cycle of the project. In any manufacturing, the product will go through the manufacturing process based on the order, and then you complete the product and then it comes out. Any construction project, it will not get completed within 1 year. It will spread to 2 years, 3 years, sometimes 5 years also based on the infrastructure requirements. So this is one unique feature which you should always keep it in mind. At any point of time, you can't check thoroughly the full end-to-end aspect of a construction project. You have to slice it, and then maybe at different percentage of completion level you have to do that, maybe 1 audit or 2 audit, according to that you have to take. If you are doing an in-house audit, probably your resources are tight, you may not have people to do the audit. So naturally in a project life cycle you can do only once. But if you are doing outsourcing, if you are doing the audit for some clients, probably based on the scope of audit, you can put your audit schedule according to the requirement from the customer, you can either do one time or again a follow-up audit according to the expectation from the or requirement from the customer. You can plan your audit. So this one particular differentiator says life cycle of the project is different. Location and access. See, all projects will not be in the main place itself. If I want to do an audit in Ahmedabad, I cannot get audit in Ahmedabad. You have to go to Ahmedabad, from there you have to take another train, go to some location, from there you have to take a car and then go to a remote place and then go to the project. So the situation is like that. So any project, it will be spread across geographically anywhere else. So you need to go to that location and then do, which is a real challenge. Sometimes you may not get the proper conveyance to go there, reach in time. In fact, I have audited projects in L&T where I have traveled in helicopter also in some locations. So maybe it's very difficult. You can't go in train, you can't go by car. We have to take the applicable mode of travel and then do that. So we have to be ready for any such travels and then put proper costing and estimates for that. Climatic condition. So you can't predict. So like what is happening in Chennai, one week it is raining, one week the sun is coming out, suddenly it is raining. All such combinations you can see in construction projects. So you need to keep track of the monsoon. Okay, which month it will rain, which month sun will be there, which month the weather will be not conducive to do the work. Like that you have to keep track. See, especially in L&D, what we do, we never go to Bombay in the month of June, July. So we know pretty well that June, July is the monsoon period and then it will be raining heavily. We never take any Bombay projects for audit. So like that, you have to see how the climatic impact is there for our project and then go to the project at the right time. When you go there, if it is raining and people will not be in a mind frame to receive you and then give you the necessary input, then all your efforts will not work there. Each business is a unique within construction itself. See, as I said in the beginning, that example, when you say construction, immediately what comes to my mind? A tall tower, a residential tower, 15 floors, 20 floors, we think only that as a building. No, there are commercial buildings are there. Within the buildings and within the buildings itself, apart from residential, we eliminate the buildings, there are commercial buildings are there, hotels are there, airports are there, hospitals are there, and factories are there. So like that, each within the business, the product differs and the risk also differs. What is applicable, a risk for a factory may not be the risk for a residential building. What is risk for an hospital construction may not be there for a residential construction. So like that it varies. So you need to understand the business requirement. According to that, you have to plan your audit. Strict timelines and stiff penalties. Very, very, very strict penalty. The client will not say, because of the monsoon in Bombay, I couldn't complete the project. Or because of the Dasara festival, people have gone on leave, I couldn't get workers, so I cannot complete the project. You cannot say any excuse to the customer. So the contract will be very stiff in penalty and the levy of liquidated damages, and then you have to keep that in mind and then move ahead with your construction. Parallelly, there are also bonus clauses. Okay, if the client is very intelligent and then plan his resources well, probably a 24 months contract, he can complete in 22 months or 20 months, he can get bonus also out of that. So you need to check that whether this contract has got any bonus clause and whether the bonus clause the company is working towards that, and if they complete, how much bonus they will get. First our approach should be towards that, and any penalty and any LD clauses we should keep at the back of the mind. See, at any point of time we should not think with a negative frame of mind. We should always go with the positive frame of mind. But however, as an auditor, we should keep this in case LD comes, in case penalty is levied, how it will impact the project. We should be aware of. Construction challenges. There are certain construction challenges which are very unique to construction project. For example, pollution. This ready-mix concrete, probably you are aware. Now they're taking the cement in bags and now using that cement bags doing construction no longer is there. Of course, maybe in a limited way we do. Ready-mix concrete is the order of the day. So we order ready-mix concrete, they come with a container, they go there and then pour the concrete and then they supply the concrete. So a big trailer cannot move here and there during the busy hours of in any city. So there are certain restrictions are there. So you have to plan when your supply should come and when you should get the concrete, because the concrete also when it is poured, if you are not doing the work immediately, it will get tightened. You cannot see immediately, you should do the job faster. If you delay that, then the concrete will go waste. It will just, once it is poured, it should be immediately spread and then you should start using that. So your manpower, your resources should be ready to receive that at the right time and then start working towards that. So that is also very, very important. So any such construction challenges, you have to keep it in mind and then act according to that. I'll tell you one more example which I faced. See, in Bombay, you know how the construction activity will be there. Very difficult, you know, with that particular traffic, you know, monsoon conditions, and you know, people moving here and there and getting the necessary approvals is very difficult. We constructed one project in Bombay, in the main heart of the city. For example, you take Dadar or Andheri, you know, in such a place we were constructing a project. Okay, so there was a clear restriction that we should do the construction only from 10 to 5 or something like that. If it exceeds beyond that, probably, you know, we will get a complaint. So when we are doing that construction, so naturally, you know, the noise pollution we can't avoid. Okay, people will be hitting the wall, you know, and making sound and creating the disturbances. All those things were happening. People started complaining to the higher-ups and telling that, say, L&T is doing the construction and it is creating problem. We are not able to stay here. It is disturbing us. A lot of complaints have gone to the higher-ups and even to the statutory authorities also in one or two few cases. So we need to always keep this in mind. Okay, so any construction should not create any disturbance either through noise or air pollution, whatever it is. It should keep without affecting the existing structure. No, the thing should move fast. So that also you should keep it in mind. The last but not the least is on the safety. The safety level of the workmen has to be at the highest level. You can't say that, okay, one accident has happened, what to do? You know, it's part of business. You can't take a call like that. Okay. So, for example, I can tell you how the safety level is implemented in airline industry. You can see. Okay, we all travel by air. We always see, you know, how the demonstration happens. I know whether we know we would have heard 1,000 times, still no, they tell. They cannot take that, okay, everybody knows, okay, why this time we will skip announcement, you know. That letharginess, you know, doesn't happen in safety. Irrespective of that, they make announcements. When this happens, you take this call. When this happens, your route is like this. Everything, you know, they tell clearly. Okay, why? Because that is the level of safety awareness people have. Okay, one accident happened in airlines, what to do? It happens. Can we take that a call? No. So how in airlines we take safety at the highest level? Construction is no longer, no, it's inferior to that. Here also it's very, very important. Okay, accident happens, one worker, no, he met with an what to do? Let us pay compensation. That approach no longer working because it's have a tremendous impact in the progress, I am telling you. Because if it happens, one accident happens, to reach that normal productivity, it takes 15 days to come. Okay, one fatal accident happens, you know how the atmosphere in the project, you have to go and see. People will come, you know, they will even attack people, you know, that level, you know, the people are there. Because of the negligence from the builder, this has happened. And then, no, the situation will be very, very bad and no one will like to see such an atmosphere. Because one thing is, you know, one life is suffering, you know, it happens. The second is, your productivity also hampers. So at any point when you go for an audit, please check safety compliances are top class. So that is very, very important. So these are all few areas, you know, differentiators which make construction project audit, construction audit different from other audits. My request to all of you is, if you got any questions or if you want to ask any doubts or whatever it is, please make a note of it so that I can answer at the end, so that the flow will not get affected during the presentation. Certain do's before audit. See, I am saying certain do's, maybe it will be applicable for construction projects. Some cases it is applicable for any audits. You can take like that. Go prepared and have all required audits. Don't go with off-baked preparation. This is very, very important. Okay, since the construction is already started, it is going in a full swing. You should do your proper homework before you go for the audit. Study everything, take all the connected papers, and then any important requirements, if you want, you know, you should note down that. Try to get all the information upfront. Be prepared and then go for the audit. See, if you don't prepare yourself well for the audit, probably, you know, you will not be received properly at the project level. Because, you know, they also expect that you should come prepared for the audit. Okay, so take due care. So, in fact, certain audits, what we do now, they go prepared with all the required details. It doesn't mean that you should go there and then start preparing. 2-3 weeks before taking the audit itself, you should start preparing for the audit. In some cases, especially when we did the metro audit, these type of big audits, Damra Port, these type of audits when we did, we started within 1.5 months back, having the video conferencing with the project team. Certain projects will not be in one location. It will be spread across different locations. There will be different stores, 3 to 5 stores will be there in different locations. Whether to audit all the stores or take only 1 or 2, and different offices will be there. Whether to go for all the offices or only select according to the requirements. These planning, it's requires. Sometimes you may have to travel within the location also. So you need to keep well prepared for your audit. And also you should take care of the travel requirements and other things are there. And considering that, a well prepared audit is always well appreciated by the auditee. Site visit, you should go for a site visit. Okay, in a project, it's not like a manufacturing audit. Okay, you enter the factory and then go and meet the plant manager or accountant and then start doing the audit. It is not like that. Okay, so first of all, you should know what is the business. As I said, within the construction itself, whether it's a road project, whether it's a water project or a power transmission project or a hospital project, whatever it is, you should know what type of project they are doing it. And each business has got different risk. You cannot say construction is a one common risk. As I said, each business unit will have a different risk. You should understand that risk and then meet the people, ask them to go for take them to a site visit. What best you can do, at least the first thing you should do that. Then only you know what is the product they are making. Without seeing the project, if you go and sit and start doing the audit, you will be totally, like a person, just with a blind eye, you'll be doing the audit. Okay, I also was never realizing this. In fact, when I started my career, I also like everyone I go to the accountant and then shake hands and then do the audit. I was doing that. But after doing a couple of audits, I came to know from one technical person only. He asked me once, have you visited for a site visit, site audit, have you seen the project, he said. I said, no, you should do it first, he said. Then only next audit itself, I implemented that. It made a lot of difference. Okay, when you go and see the project, lot of new things you will learn. And the people in the project also will be very happy to showcase their progress. They are waiting. Someone should come and then they'll say, yes, we have done this, sir, we have created this. This is a very unique thing we have introduced in the project. It's a learning experience for you also. So don't miss that. So site visit is very, very important. Pre-audit meeting you can have when you start the audit at the project level, or as I said in the beginning also. Because you should know what is the expectation, what is the scope of the audit. So unless you know that well in advance, probably you cannot prepare your audit scheduling according to the expectation. So have a pre-audit meeting with the audit team, understand what they expect from you. So that is very, very important. Suppose they expect something and if you don't do that, and probably there will be a gap in what they expect and what you do. I always tell internal audit profession like this. See, when you go to a doctor, okay, whatever the problem you have, he just touches your hands. First thing he sees, how is your hand? He sees that. Then he will ask, have you slept well yesterday night? Then you took anything wrong, and what food you took yesterday? Without seeing touching the pulse itself, he will know how is what type of problem you are having. We are also like that. We should equip ourselves to that. If you go to a project and see that this is the burning problem in this project, so I should do something for this. That level of that grip you will come only by experience. Okay, that will not come just like that. Probably you should go to projects, you should go to audits more often, interact with the project team, get to know the intricacies of the project. Experience only will teach that. So when you get that exposure and experience, probably you will come to that level. So when you understand that, when you see the financials, when they tell something, when they show the progress, this is the problem this particular project has got, I should work towards that. What value addition I can give for this? So that will be immediately flashing in your mind. Read the contract thoroughly. It is a Bible. I always tell you, my suggestion to you is, without reading the contract, don't go for audit. No, you will not get any reception at all. Because it is the Bible. It says what you should do, what you should not do. If you don't read that, probably you will not be aware of what things are there. Okay, though it is very a bulky document, probably you need not read into it. What are the key relevant areas? Those things you should have a full grip when you go for the audit. Time management and resource composition. You have to plan your time management well, because as I said, the locations will be different. You should have a proper composition of the team. No longer, if you say that, if I have chartered accountants in my team, I can do the audit. Gone are those days. You should have a mix of resources. Okay, unless you have a mix of resources according to the requirements of the audit, probably you may not be able to deliver what the customer wants. So we need to keep a proper balance in the resources. In L&T, we have got engineers, we have got civil engineers in our team, we have got mechanical engineers in our team, we have got IT experts in our team. Wherever is required, we have to take them and then involve them in the audit. That is very, very important. Be clear with your deliverables. As I said, the pre-audit meeting will tell you clearly what the customer expects, and then according to that you have to deliver the audit. Key challenges in construction audit. Very, very important slide, I would say. The first is SOI, that is sales over invoicing. This is a terminology we use. Sales over invoicing. What is sales over invoicing? This always you should keep track when you go for a project. See, to just put it in a very in an easy manner for you, all of you to understand. In manufacturing audit, what happens? The production comes, invoicing happens, the material is delivered to the customer, you book the invoice and then take it as a sales. Okay. In any product business, it happens like that. When the material is handed over, when the risk transfers, you book the invoice and then take the sales. But in construction, it is not like that. As I said, the construction project will go for 2 years, 3 years. It is spread. You start the project today. After 2 years, the job will get over. How to account the sales? It's a big challenge. The invoicing part, which is taken care by the project, they go as per the contract. If I have completed X milestone, they raise the invoice. Once they complete the second milestone, they raise the invoice and then do that. This parallelly will go. But when it comes to accounts, you go purely based on the accounting standard. So whatever the accounting standard says, you accrue the margin, you accrue the sales, and then show it in your P&L account. What you show as sales in P&L account will not be matching with the invoice, what is done by the technical team. So there will be always a gap. So when you say my sale suppose the contract is 100, when you say my sales is 60, the invoicing people will show only 20 rupees. So another 80 rupees they have to invoice. So unless you keep track, where is the problem? Why there is only, I am showing a sales of 50 rupees, you are showing only 20 rupees. Why there is a gap of 30 rupees? You should immediately look into that. If it is genuine, they may be saying, no sir, it is based on the milestone we have to invoice. After 1 month later only we can raise this invoice. So there will be some time lag. If there are some proper reasoning is there, okay. If there is no reasoning, proper reasoning is there, probably what would have happened is, we will incur the cost, but we may not be able to bill to the customer. So ultimately when the project will show, I have got a profit of 20%, when the project gets completed, it may be minus 20% also. So we have to keep track on that and then see that whether the project invoicing, project margin accruing is going in tandem and together. That is very, very important as an auditor. If there is a mismatch, it is our responsibility to highlight to the management. Timely mobilization of resources. This is from the project point of view. Any project, if it is timely mobilized, the chances of meeting the target is very high. This is our L&T's track record. If any project, if you have seen this particular project, I expected 20% margin, we have achieved 20% margin. What is the reason? We have timely mobilized the resources. So this is a thumb rule. So if you are able to mobilize the resources, key people, at least the construction head or the planning engineer, site accountant, safety person, quality person, plant and machinery head, if these key people are on board on day one, probably the chances of eroding the margin or not meeting the margin is very, very minimal. So ensure that the resource timely mobilized and then the project takes off immediately. Procurement issues, especially bulk material. See, people who have done audit or who are involved in construction audit, they know what bulk materials I am talking about. What is bulk materials? Bulk material is nothing but your sand, cement, aggregates, which used for the concrete. These are all not readily available because these are all dominated by certain groups. Okay, so when you go for any project, we have to see in near locality where they are, where the supply is. There will be only one source. You may not have any other alternative. There may not be any comparative quotes. Okay, you ask where in a traditional way, if you go, you have given this order, purchase order to this person, where is 3 quotes? Have you taken 3 quotes? They may not have. They may show some 3 quotes, only on paper, not in spirit. So all those things will be there. Okay, you need to understand the business requirement, business the challenges what business people face in that, and probably we have to wear a different cap there as a business partnering and see how best we can solve those issues. So you cannot go as a strict auditor and then say no, this is not followed, and because then finally it will bounce back to you only. Because then when they say this is the reason what you expect us to do, even if you go there as a project manager, you will be doing the same thing. Okay, these are all certain challenges the project team will face. As an internal auditor, we need to look into that. Among the processes, well done, well laid companies' processes, if they are following, fine, well and good. Impact of regional factors. Regional factors, what I am talking about is the political related things. See, if you do a project in Bihar, you know what sort of challenges you will have. If you do a project in West Bengal, you know what type of risk or what type of challenges you face. So you need to inbuild that when you take a project. There are many projects, I would say, in L&T. See, incidentally, before coming to internal audit, I was heading the risk management for L&T construction. So I was overall head for the risk management processes for L&T construction. So I was involved with the chairman, and then I used to discuss about all the key projects. Before we say yes for a project, we used to take a call. Okay, so these processes are well laid in L&T, and then as per the levels it goes. So finally, certain big projects, chairman has to give clearance whether to take this project or not. There are certain projects which we said no because of the regional peculiarities or challenges. So this happens, and probably once you take the project, you cannot go back. Okay, and you should also look into that, how it impacts the project. If anything is a little serious, as an internal auditor, we have to blow our whistle and then highlight the management. Compliance with regulators is not unique, and if I have given only very few requirements. If you ask me, I can give some 3-4 pages, full pages. These are all the compliance we need to follow. So that much cumbersome, rigorous involvement of statutory compliance is there. And in fact, if you go, the people at the project team, they sometimes they will be working only on this compliance level. Okay, this royalty I have to adhere, or I have to pay this cess, or this particular tax I have to pay, or the labor inspector came and then he has asked and I have to give to that, and tomorrow the safety inspector is going to come and inspect. It will be like that. In a marriage hall, if you go and see how people will be running here and there, it will be like this literally, So sometimes we also face difficulty. When you go for an audit, the people will not be there to sit with you and then explain the audit requirements. You ask certain things, people may not be able to explain you, because of the constraint what they face. But in spite of that, we need to take some time and then take their time and then do that. But here again, I am telling you, sometimes if you are very casual in your approach, and if you ask some information, they say by noon they give, they tell they will give you, but noon they don't, it doesn't come. Then if you ask them, no sir, by 4 o'clock I will give, 4 o'clock also doesn't come. Then 4 o'clock, then tomorrow I will give. Don't allow that to happen. Because your time is precious. Okay, so if they are not ready for the audit, then they should not have called you. So maybe you can be flexible to some extent, but beyond that level, you have to put your foot down and then say nothing doing. Handling customers' contractual interpretation and design issues. This is a big challenge in construction. Okay, so in almost any project, if you take 10 projects, I would say 6 to 7 projects this problem will have. The customers, they will put one design. Take a typical residential towers. Okay, first they will say, we want to construct 25 floors. They will announce, they will mobilize resource, they will get code, they will give order, everything. Then 3 months they will wait. Order will not be there. Response will not be proper. This 25 floors will immediately come to 15 floors. Okay, then what happens? In the 15th floor itself, some people will book, some floors will be there. Then they say only one wing will operate, another wing, it's under hold. These things are very, very common because it all depends on the market requirement. I am talking mainly about the residential projects. Because if the customer comes, probably it will go as per the plan. If the demand is not there, then people who have paid their money, they have to wait. Because they will not hand over the project on right time, and probably your money will get blocked and the progress will not happen. Maybe in some projects you have to wait for years. And when you will get the project, when you will get the key, only God only knows. So that will be the situation. So for us also, for a contractor, to planning that, taking that, it's very, very difficult. They go on, change the design, and they will also interpret certain things. Suppose they will say, initially they will say, this is my interpretation. you use this particular mix of material. But when you start making, no, this is not there, no, our interpretation is something different, no, you are wrongly understood. For this particular cost, we will not pay, this we will pay only this much. Then again, no, we have to take, sometimes, no, they agree, sometimes we take to legal, all those complications will be there. So, your contract process should not have any ambiguity. And if you feel as an auditor there are certain ambiguities, please highlight that to the management. Ask them to take immediate action. Otherwise, when the project will be over, then when you submit the final bills, he will say, no, my interpretation is this, you will not get this money finally, no, they will cut everything in the final settlement. Okay, these are very important. So, these are some key challenges which we face in construction projects. We will now come to the specific areas. The specific areas, what I am going to highlight, all these areas, probably it's not, I know what I am going to share is not new. Already you know all these things. But only thing, are we really taking seriously and then doing it? Is a question we have to ask ourselves. And when you generally, look into these areas, there are a lot of scope for value addition. Okay, this area, no, I missed this. No, how I missed this? Yeah, this can give a lot of value to the customer. Probably you may think in that line. I am going to share few areas like that. Probably, if you are already following that, fine, well and good. And if you can take some inputs from my presentation, I will be the happiest. Revenue leakage. This is any audit you take, the first and foremost area what you should look into on the revenue leakage. This is what the customer also is eagerly looking into that. Is there all my sales are getting properly accounted? Is there all my invoices are getting properly accounted? Have I missed anything to invoice to the customer? This is one area the customer is really worried. And probably as an internal auditor, when you give that comfort to them, nothing like that. And if you give certain areas where they missed, they will be very, very happy to take that, and then you will be adding a lot of value in the audit process. Timely raising of progress invoicing. This is very, very important. But generally what happens, are they doing it in all the projects? Probably differ from project to project. They will say 1,000 reasons. No, this particular thing we want to take that, that was not over, because of that we delayed, and the invoice will not go on 1st of every month. Please check that, whether any gaps are there. You see the past record, last 12 months you take, on what date, what contract says for raising the invoice, and how much when they have raised the invoice. You see whether there is any gap. If there are some genuine gaps are there, probably it's understandable. But suppose if there is a big gap in raising invoices, your capital, your money is getting blocked and you are not able to realize that money. You have to highlight it to the management. Collection of mobilization advance. See, in any contract, you will get mobilization advance. But there are certain contracts where advance is paid as a stage payment. That is different. Suppose the sale value is 100, contract value is 100. If you give mobilization advance for 10%, he will give 10% of that, 10 rupees he will give you. That no recovery will be there. It will be taken as a sales. The day one you can accrue the sales for the 10 and then book it as a sales. Is it like that, or the advance they have given is on a recoverable basis? So you have to see the contract. If the contract, whatever the contract says, as per the contract, whether it has been done, invoicing has been done, you have to see. Work done and billing on variation orders. What is variation order? Anyone can say?
Specification is changed.
Pardon?
Specification, quantity, or the contract area may be
Different from what is there in the contract.
Correct. See, they say you construct one building. Okay, you are constructing one building. Suddenly the customer says he wants to construct one similar building, similar to that in the next area also. So more or less it is same. Specification is same, and you put the same material, everything. But instead of one building, you also parallelly you construct one more building. So that is not in the original contract. So if you wait for the contract amendment, then it will take time. They have to go to the higher level, they have to get orders, then approval, this, that, it will take time. We also what do as a construction contractor, okay, anyway we are constructing it, it goes for 24 months or 3 years. Okay, we will do the construction, let it get regularized later. In the process it will get regularized. But the work will be going on, are you raising the invoice? That is a question. So for variation orders also, based on the agreed terms, whatever you are doing a similar project, you have to continuously raise the invoices. Otherwise, you will lose track. Escalation claims, wherever the escalation clauses are there. See, for example, steel. The contract will say X price for steel, the price would have gone up. Suppose the difference how to claim, as per the index given by the contract, that wholesale price index or consumer price index, whatever the index the contract specifies, you can raise that particular escalation claim to the customer. So whether the project has done that, that also. Generally what happens, the practical difficulty I am sharing. See, you cannot expect the escalation claim to be raised month on month basis, because the index itself will come on a quarterly basis sometimes. There will be delay in getting the releasing the index also. So what happens in 1 month, because of the index change, you may have to make a claim. The next month, the client may have to recover from us. Second month, because of the drop in index level, it will be a ulta. Then probably we may have to pay to the customer. So what happens, since that change is very fluctuating, probably they will wait. Okay, 1 month it is up, next month we will see. On a quarterly basis, once we will see April, May, June, let it goes. On June month we will see. Then we will factor that. So that is one call probably the project team. I think going by in spirit, probably what they are doing is we have to accept that. Interest for delayed payments. If the payments are not done timely by the customer, probably there will be clauses to claim interest. Probably whether the project team has raised proper invoices for that, for the delayed interest, we have to see. The last one is on the reimbursement claims. What is reimbursement claims? For example, in a project, probably you will be doing one building. In the same project, another contractor or from the customer would have appointed another contractor to do some other work. That other contractor may require some plant and machinery or some materials. Suppose if he want to buy, he has to go to market and then get, the time is not there. Then he will come and ask us, this material is required, can you give? Diesel, can you give me? Or this equipment, can you give me? Probably we will give that equipment on a loan basis. And once that work is over, probably the equipment will come to us. For that we have to raise a claim. Because this is not as per the contract. Because to help them, we are doing that. So these claims are all reimbursement claims. Similarly, electricity, power. For the construction, power is required. So when the power you generate, you do that, probably you may have to get reimbursement for the power. Similarly, water. These are a few areas, where probably we get as a reimbursement. You incur the cost, the customer will reimburse that. Whether that such reimbursement invoicing has taken place. So these are all broadly I have given few areas. So if you look into each one of these areas and see whether there are no deviation, probably it will be great. The next area is bank guarantees. This is also another area we don't give that much importance during the audit. Okay, bank guarantee, okay, they are given bank guarantee, okay, fine. We go with that level. Okay, how bank guarantee is important? There are various types of bank guarantees are there in a construction. For when you get a mobilization advance, you give mobilization bank guarantee. Similarly, as per the contract, if the contract says you have to complete the job by so and so time, to ensure the performance, you give a performance guarantee. Okay, these are all as per the contract. Maybe 5% of the contract, 10% of the contract, or whatever the norms, as per the contract, you have to give that bank guarantee. This bank guarantee, when you give the job to a subcontractor, you should also get bank guarantee from them. Have we done that? This is one area probably, it will skip the auditing. So the contract work order what we give to the subcontractor may not specify anything about the bank guarantee, whereas we would have given bank guarantee to our customer. So whether any such gaps are there, probably you have to check. When you collect a bank guarantee from a subcontractor, get confirmation from the bankers. This is very important. Nowadays, anything can happen. Okay, you just don't take the bank guarantee on the face value. You have to write to the bankers and then ask for a confirmation. Once the confirmation comes, then probably you have to feel happy that it is genuine. So don't go with the the relationship value, face value, and don't depend on that and accept the bank guarantee as it is. So you need to do your work there. Split bank guarantee as much as possible. Okay, suppose the contract says we have to give a bank guarantee 10% of the contract value. Make it 5 BGs, 2%, 2%, 2%, 2%, like that. Make it 5 BGs. So when the recovery happens, probably the 2% of the bank guarantee you can return it back, take it back. So your money will not get blocked upfront. Okay, so the client will not say no to that as long as you give 10% of the contract value as a bank guarantee, he is going to feel happy. Otherwise, what happens? Your 10% bank guarantee will be getting blocked with the customer. The recovery will be happening, and the amount will be slowly coming down. Whereas the bank guarantee, what the customer is holding, it will be on the very high amount. Your non-funded limits will get blocked. BG is money. We should always, accept that. See what happens, why I am saying this statement is, suppose some money is blocked with the customer. You go and ask him, sir, this money is some retention. The retention money is blocked, and why can't you release this as per the contract? He will say, you give bank guarantee, then I will release. Okay, if you ask the project team, they will say, sir, they are asking bank guarantee, you give bank guarantee, they will say. Thinking that bank guarantee is just free. But it is not so. They don't realize bank guarantee is a limit. If you give a bank guarantee, money is blocked. And more than that, a sword is hanging on your head. Anytime, if anything goes wrong, people can encash that bank guarantee. So all these things, we need to educate the technical team. They will simply say, sir, they are asking bank guarantee, you give a bank guarantee. Going by that, we can't accept that. So bank guarantee is also a risk. Time being, we are providing that. Till you recover that, collect back that bank guarantee, it is a high risk. Especially when the customers are very tricky customers, we need to think twice before we give the bank guarantee. Bank guarantee versus corporate guarantee. See here, what happens, the job will be done within the company itself. For example, how I can say, you take, for example, take L&T itself. Okay, we are doing a job. Earlier we were having this ready-mix concrete unit. Of course, we have hired off that particular business. Suppose you need ready-mix concrete for a project. So we give a work order to the ready-mix concrete unit. Okay, so in the work order, we should not specify we will give bank guarantee. Suppose 50 crores worth of order I am giving to the ready-mix unit. For that 50 crores, I will give 10% bank guarantee. Because it's a right packet to the left packet. Why you should give a bank guarantee? So such clauses we have to look into that. Any such cases where the job is done internally, you need not give a bank guarantee. Probably a corporate bond or indemnity bond is only a protection. Okay, so why you should block your BG limits? So that particular care you can look into. Such cases probably you have to highlight to the management. Probably when such observation comes from the internal audit team, this will be appreciated by one and all. Because many people will not look into like this. Okay, they say bank guarantee, okay, bank guarantee given. People will not even go into that. How many bank guarantees are there? Whether the bank guarantees are proper, whether the bank guarantees is getting reduced based on the recovery. All those things are very, very important. Insurance, this is another area. Because normally, these areas, bank guarantees, insurance, this takes back seat when you go as an internal audit. I am telling you openly. Because they say, okay, insurance taken. Okay, we don't go more than that. But how much value you can add to that, I have highlighted here. First of all, ensure that the coverage is as per the contract. If the contract is for 1,000 crores, whether the 1,000 crores contract is fully covered, you have to check that. And some cases, there will be some escalation also. See, suppose because the price, as I said, the job will go for 3 years to 5 years. If today the value is 1,000 crores, after 3 years this will become 1,200 crores because of the inflation. Whether that increase is factored in the insurance, we have to see. That contract clause itself will say that. Suppose the contract is 100, you add in escalation for 5% and then do the insurance for so and so areas. Like that, the contract will be very clear. You check whether that particular aspect is taken care of. Excluded risks have to be properly checked. In a project, when the policy is taken, the policy, when you go through the policy, there may be certain risks which will be excluded in the policy. What are all those excluded risks? You have to see. Generally, if you see, if you take Chennai, we never cover earthquake. Okay, we know Chennai is a safe place, no earthquake, nothing is there. Why unnecessarily we paying premium? No hazard has happened. When earthquake happened last 10 years back, I think the chances are remote. Okay, why we should pay premium? Exclude it. Similarly, there will be some third party damage. I think this particular thing is well covered. No third party risk is there, and why we should include that? Let us skip that. Like that, we may take certain decisions unilaterally, deviating the contractual terms. If the contract says earthquake has to be covered, means you have to cover earthquake. There is no second opinion on that. Whatever is the contract says, it is Bible. If they say you have to have an escalation for 5%, you have to cover escalation. No, escalation 5% is not there. Past record says only 2%. Why I should give 5%? No. Please go by the contractual terms. So look into the clauses which are excluded in the policy, and then you have to take a call. If such exclusions are as per the contract, fine. Or if they have taken unilaterally such exclusions, probably you have to tell the management, no, you have to cover. Insurance, whose scope, is a very beautiful thing. Generally, we don't look into that. Generally, what we feel, 100 rupees is the contract value. Okay, we have taken insurance for that. Okay, this is the normal thumb rule opinion we follow and then go. There are certain contracts where client will take insurance. If you read the contract, then only you will know that. If you don't read the contract, purely if you go, you think, okay, contractor's opinion, contractor's scope is the insurance, okay, they might have taken. Don't come to such conclusion. When you go through the contract, it will clearly tell who has to take insurance for what amount. I will tell one exact live example what happened in our company. When I was, of course I was not in audit at the time, I was Bombay accounts head, Bombay regional office accounts head at that time. So what happened, we were executing one contract for a government unit. It's a very big unit, and we were doing a project for them. And it's a big, high value contract. It's a very specialized job we were doing that. Suddenly what happened, nobody's seen the contract. And people are thinking that we have taken insurance for that. And one day, a big claim happened. Okay, we all started taking the papers, we were compiling everything, we were arranging the surveys, we were doing all sort of things. And when we checked for the policy is not there. Where is the policy? Policy is not there. Then we were bringing, what to do? No, so accident has happened, we have to lodge the claim, we have to appoint the surveyor, we have to answer to the insurance company. Where is the policy? We were all searching. Then we checked the contract. Contract says it is customer scope. Customer has to take insurance. So it is not there. So it is not part of our requirement. Then what happened, we checked with the client. Sir, this accident has happened and we have to process the insurance, and what about the insurance? Then they said they will check and come back. They checked their records. They have also not taken. See the risk. They have also not taken. They said this project is running for 3 to 5 years. 1 or 2 years we have just seen no claim. So why we should pay insurance premium? We have not taken. Casually they are telling. Nobody followed up from our end also. Okay, so ultimately what happened? We are the losers. We are as a contractor. See, client has to take a policy. He has not taken, and he missed it. And now accident has taken. Who will reimburse this money? Who will pay this money? Okay, this is a big question. So people will take lightly. Okay, he will say, contractor will say, no, he has taken. He will say, no, customer has taken. And like that, there won't be any link in the action. So what happens? All these problems, I am telling you, my friends, will come only when there is an issue. So long there is no issue, people will keep quiet. Oh, everything is going well. Suddenly one problem comes, one fire happened, then everything, when people will start, what happened? Why you have not done this? People will show fingers. All these problems will come. Then they ask, where is internal auditor? Where is he reporting? So ultimately the blame will come to the internal audit. So this is one area probably we need to be very, very careful. Whose scope it is? This has happened only in construction. In other areas, probably you take your own transit insurance or fire insurance, whatever insurance you take. But in construction, it is again contract specified. What contract says, we have to go by that. Please check that. Synergy, subcontract policy and the cost impact. Again, now what happens? There are certain covers, certain insurance covers you take as a main contract. When you subload certain work to a subcontractor, what happens, if you go through the work order, again, insurance component will be reimbursed to them. You check that. For example, you have already covered, suppose one building is there, one particular building you are asking a subcontractor to do the work. For that particular building, you have already taken an insurance. But in the work order, while you fix the rate, you will also give insurance for them. Why you should give insurance? Already you have taken. You need not give that insurance money to the subcontractor. Probably people will know, because of this cut and paste. That particular contractor we paid, okay, same terms and conditions, you cut and paste here. Okay, this happens. Probably in major contracts, please go through the subcontract work orders, and if the insurance cover we have taken as a main contractor, we need not pay the subcontractor the insurance aspect. Check that. Insurance is only a mitigation tool. See, this is a general statement I am making. See, insurance, what happens now, the management is thinking, if I pay 100 rupees premium, I should get 200 rupees claim. They think that it is a profit-making tool. No. We have to tell them, no, it is a risk mitigation tool. If something happens, 100 rupees I am losing, means at least 100, if I am not getting 100, at least 60, 70, 80, some mitigation plan. It is not a profit making. By paying 100 rupees premium, don't expect insurance company to pay 200 rupees. They are not charity to give you the money. Okay, so still many people are feeling that. And on the other extreme, why I should pay insurance? No, nothing will happen. We will manage. That is another extreme. They don't pay the money. Ultimately, when something happens, something goes wrong, then now they will feel, oh, I should have taken. No, I have missed this. Okay. No, then they will realize they have not taken the right step. So don't go this extreme. Be conservative and don't cover anything. Or don't think that we have paid them, we will take money, we will cover everything, but ensure that we get more than what we paid as a premium. That is also another extreme. We should not do that. Extension of policy cover and cost impact. Just as I said in the beginning, the project is running to a different durations. See, probably you might have expected the project will complete by 2 years' time. There may be some delay. The 2 year may become 2.5 years. Then again, this insurance has to be extended. If you feel that this project will get extended, please take steps at the right time. Because don't wait till the last 2 years, that once that 2 years is over, the next day the policy is going to expire. At the time, people should not go for renewal. One thing that we can skip, it will miss our attention and then we may not do the insurance at the right time. Second, cost impact. If you do within 1.5 years, probably the premium rate will be something different. If you do after 2 years, premium rate may be different because the insurance company, according to that, they will charge the premium. So you very well know that this project is going to get extended. Alert the management team, tell that they have to take proper care for extending the insurance validity. Claim settlements is a routine thing. When you make a claim to the insurance company, see whether these claims are all properly settled by the insurance company. See what happens in a construction is a big problem. See what happens, they put the claim, nobody will be there to follow. Okay, because the levels of officers are different. At the project, he will send the paper to the next level. That person will compile everything, give to the next level, zonal office or whatever it is. There only people will be handling that. This project level people and zonal level, there won't be any interaction. So some documents they would have asked, they will not give. All those documentary issues will be there. And if any claims are pending for quite long, then the insurance company will wait. If no documents are given, they will close it and then go ahead with that. So unnecessarily we will be losing money. So please check that whether the proper claim settlement mechanism, review mechanism are there. And if it is done at the next level, probably you should check with them how it is being done and then what sort of follow-up mechanism is there. Subcontracting. This is another area in construction which we need to really look into that, because this is another area. See, when I am saying this one area, it gives lot of potential for your revenue leakage area, because these are all area and cost improvement area. Because always think like that. Don't see as an area where we are spending. Subcontracting, okay, we are appointing contract. You should not think in that line. You should think from the management angle. This area, how it can add value to the organization. Okay, whether the right contractors are appointed, whether they are doing work properly, whether the progress is as per the thing, whether any money is blocked with them, whether they are really good contractors. We should think from the management perspective. So don't feel like, okay, contractors, they are doing their job, how is the progress? We should not stop at that level. We should wear a management cap and then look from their angle. Types of contract, you all know there are various types of contract. One is specialized contractors. Okay, specialized contractors in the sense they will bring material and then they will come with labor. Okay, for example, AC. Okay, if you want to buy one AC, it is not that they will give one order for a company and then get the AC, then another contractor will come and do the installation. The same person will supply and the same person will do the installation also. So it is a supply and erection. So we call it as a specialized contractors. In construction, these type of contractors, lot of contractors will be there. Probably we have to see how many specialized contractors are there and whether their work progress is as per the work order terms. Those areas you have to see. Another type is labor contractors. Okay, this building we have to construct, please put some people and then do that. Okay, this area, how many people will be required? Say 500 people will be required, and within 1 month we have to complete that. Okay, 500 workers, pay the money and then close it off. That is pure labor contract. Okay, now when you appoint a specialized contractor or a labor contractor, background verification is very important. whether the project has done the background verification of the subcontractor, you have to check as an auditor. Because what happens, in a hurry, project is always, like a marriage hall, I said in the beginning. People will be running, going, nobody, if you ask whether you have done, no, they have done this. If you ask, no, he might have done this. No, this type of reply is common in project sites. Okay, there should be a proper process for all those activities. Okay, the background verification, why it is important is, if you appoint a person who is substandard, who has got no experience at all, if he comes to your project, what he will do now? He will take a work order. He will not mobilize, he will not start the work. Immediately what he will do now? He will take that work order, go to another company, see, this company has given me this order. Okay, I have been doing this, give another order. He will take another order and then go. Okay, like this, these people, multiply themselves with, orders. Ultimately, they will not do your job. So we have to be very, very careful. A proper team have to evaluate whether this person is a real person, whether he has done proper work, whether he has got experience earlier, and what is his track record. Everything we have to see. Likewise, by chance, the contractor whom you have selected doesn't perform well, you have to blacklist them. Whether the blacklisting process is there, that also you have to see. If the person has not done proper job, close it off, blacklist him, and then inform to all the officers, this fellow has not done properly, please don't appoint anymore. That communication has to go. Whether that process is there, that also you have to see as an audit. Okay, it is a twin area. Okay, one side is whether the proper process is followed. If not done, what is the, again, for that remedial measures, that also whether the company has followed, you have to see. Statutory compliance by subcontractors. This is a very important area, because this is one area, here and there cases will be there. So what we have to do to protect our skin, you have to get a confirmation from them. Okay, so in some cases we also get CA certificate, like that, whether the proper remittances they have done, all those things we take. Okay, because why I am saying is, if any non-compliance comes from the subcontractors, you will be responsible as a main contractor. You cannot say, I have given this job, he has not done this, I am not responsible. No, you are responsible because you are the main contractor. Authority will say only that. So to save our skin, you have to doubly check whether this fellow is doing properly. That is why I am saying, substandard subcontractors, if you avoid, all the headaches are over. See their track record, see how they have performed, see their image, see their brand value, then put their people. It is very difficult, I can say this, but really when you jump and do the work, getting people is also difficult. But to some extent, we have to keep a balance. If you know very well this person's track record is not good, please don't take that. And the other one is adhering to the work order terms. People have to timely mobilize those things you have to see. Bank guarantees, as I said, if we have given 10% bank guarantee, you should give again 10%, like that. The terms and conditions are there. No ambiguity in work order. Again, the cut and paste issue. Okay, see what happens, when a subcontractor, classic example I tell you, a same subcontractor will be doing two jobs under two work orders. This work order term will be something, this work order term will be something on commercial terms. Please don't, allow to do that. Okay, you have to tell the concerned procurement team to take care of that. For example, I have given, in one contract, one work order, it will say free supply. Cement, I will give you free. You need not bring any cement, I will give you free. In another contract, you will say chargeable. If I give 1 bag of cement, I will charge this much. This fellow, what he will do now? In the first contract, he will take the free supply. This free supply he will push there. For the wherever the contract chargeable is there. We don't have any control. So this is possible. So don't have clauses which is deviating within the same person, two work orders. Please check that. If you give a work order to a person, that should be uniform irrespective of the number of work they are doing. Non-performance of subcontractors impact on cost and time. This is very, very important. See, you need to track the subcontractor's performance, and as I said, if you put the right person the day one, 50% of your headache is over. You have to only see whether the execution level is proper. See what happens, otherwise this fellow will take the order, he will not perform, and he will not mobilize also. Then ultimately as a main contractor, we have to jump in and then do the work. So that time, again time, penalty, everything will be there. So we have to be very, very careful. See here, what I want to, when I say about time factor, see you all, probably some of you might have done some audit of solar projects. Okay, in solar projects, the contract says, the timely completion is the essence of the contract. If the job has to be completed within 6 months, just exactly on the 6 months end you have to hand over the project. Because the next day the revenue he has to do. He has to put the power and then put to the grind and then get the money, all those things will start. So 1 day loss of revenue he will put on your head. The revenue loss will be tremendous in power. Okay, so like that we have to see the business also. Okay, so wherever the time is the essence of the contract, we have to look into that and see that the jobs are progressing as per that. Here, the subcontractor's role are very important. Unless you track their progress, by the time it will be too late. Okay, you think that they are doing their job, but when our job is going to be complete, as against 75%, if they have done only 25%, who will bridge that 50% gap? Again you have to run, again mobilize people, put some other contract, he will not agree, again cost to overrun, everything will come to, at the time, whether you will put this person or see the progress, it will be a Herculean task for us. So timely following up of the subcontractor, here internal auditors can play a good role. Okay, and you can highlight at the right time, when you do the project at the right time, you can say when the project is going at 25% or 30%, when you see this fellow is not doing properly, you can caution the management. See, this don't depend on this person, he is not doing his job, please take care, make some alternate arrangement, have a backup plan. If you do that, probably you are giving a great value addition to the management through the internal audit. Plant and machinery. Plant and machinery is another area where internal auditors can contribute a lot of value addition. The contract terms, again, which is the main document for mobilization and demobilization, we have to see. There are certain contracts which specify certain plant and machinery you have to mobilize day one. When the job starts, when you just land there, you should bring that machinery. If that machinery is not there, the customer will see the contract. He will say, no, these 5 machineries are whether you brought these 5 machineries. If the 5 machineries are there, he will not permit you to start the work. Because those plant and machineries are very critical for the project, and if that particular project doesn't have that particular equipment, he will have a doubt whether this fellow will bring tomorrow or not. He wants day one that machinery, you bring that machinery, then you mobilize. Similarly, demobilization. 50%, 60% job is over, that machinery's work is over already. You need not require that machinery. If you go and tell the customer, see, I have completed my job and we don't require this machinery, we are taking it back, please permit. No. Till demobilization you have to keep the machinery. As per the contract, till the end you have to keep the machinery. What for, we don't know. But contract says you have to keep the machinery, you keep the machinery. So contract terms is very, very critical. If the contract says you have to mobilize 3 machineries, day one, mobilize that. And the contract says you should not demobilize these machineries till the end of the project, you have to keep it. And you have to observe the cost, no other cost. Because contract terms. Operator's license. This is very important, very, very important from the safety angle also. People, you might have seen tower crane. When you go in the Mount Road, big building will be there, a big crane will be there. It will be moving here and there. It's a tower crane. For operating the tower crane, you require special license because it is operated at the height. You and I cannot go and operate that. If you see that, that's all. We cannot move. It requires separate license for operation, and people who don't have any fear of operating at the height can only operate that. Okay, so what happens in some projects, people will not see all these things. They want to do the work. Okay, you go and operate. They will send somebody else. If, as I say, everything goes well, fine. If something happens, then where is the license? Who asked him to go and do that job? These questions will come. So, you need to see certain equipments, if it requires license for operation, whether those persons are only operated, you have to check as internal auditor. Approval for hiring. See, in big companies like L&T, what happens now? See, the approval process are very, very robust. Okay, you cannot left and right take machineries at the project level. It has to get proper approval, then only you can take the machineries. But what happens, the project people, they are always, in the on toes to do the progress. They want some machinery urgently. Okay, they will say, if I put a request, it will go to that office, that person has to approve it, and it will take time, another 2-3 months it will go. No, I want immediately. Okay, you put on order and then take locally. Okay, they will issue from their level, they will issue a work order, take one equipment, which they are not supposed to do that. though the interest is genuine in the interest of the project, but it deviates the guidelines, company guidelines. Any P&M, plant and machinery, if it is taken locally, which otherwise should have been approved by the higher officers, you have to highlight. Performance of hired asset. Okay, they have hired the asset, but what is the utility? It will be lying idle. Why? No scope of work. See, everything is like a cycle. So when you take a hired equipment, whether this equipment is put into proper use, that also you have to see efficiency and utility of the asset. Asset hired to customer and subcontractor. I already touched in the beginning. Some assets, if you give to your subcontractors or to the customers, they themselves will ask, proper recovery has to be done for that. The next important area is technical audit. This is a very, very important area. Whatever I touched till now is, I would say, it's a finance domain. Okay, as chartered accountants we can do. But now what I am going to say, technical audit, in other words, operations auditing in construction projects, engineers' presence is required. Okay, but we can't say that we can't do as chartered accountants. But if you get the support, probably nothing like that. Because certain things, when you say certain areas, as chartered accountants, we can go up to certain level. When the auditee says, no, because some technical jargons if they put and say because of this, we cannot discuss more on that. Okay, so financially or commercially, whatever is possible, we can take that particular discussion. Beyond that level, when it's more technical, probably an engineer only will be able to help the audit. The first area is on the rate analysis. What is rate analysis? Rate analysis is nothing but a quotation. In a very local language, if you say, it is like a quote. How you have given that particular work. You are giving a work order. For that you prepare a quote on what basis you have to give the work. If you see that particular rate, how they have arrived the rate, it is lot of technical thing will be involved. I will just give one small example. Suppose if you are giving a concreting job. See, here concreting means cement we have to put and then put the job. In a normal understanding, we will say cement will be there and for the labor will be there, their wages will be there and then we will be paying. It is not like that. In a concreting activity, the rate will be fixed based on your material and labor. In a concreting, suppose how much cubic meter of cement for one particular area will be poured. For doing that, how much labor will be involved in that. For doing that, what are all the benefits we have to give for that labor. If any plant and machinery is required for that, any other materials will be used for that, and then you have to assimilate, put everything together and then arrive at unit rate. Okay, that unit rate, if you break that, it will have material cost, it will have labor cost, it will have subcontractor cost, it will have P&M cost, everything will be involved in that. So when you put that particular rate, you have to be very careful. How that particular rate is arrived. Okay, one small case I can just tell you. See, generally what people do, for completing a job, for completing a own small building, for example, you require some 200 workers for that. Okay, so for doing that unit, arriving that unit rate, what they will do, you take PF component. You have to pay PF for that particular work. What they will do, PF component for one person they will take, multiplied by 200, then that cost they will factor. But really if you see, all the 200 will not be present throughout. Initially 50 will be there, then slowly it will become 75, then 100, then 200 like that. But in the rate, they will give 200 upfront. Will it not give an enrichment to the subcontractor? So, what as an auditor we have to do? We have to see such cost erosion, how the cost is getting paid through the subcontractor. So, in such cases, the ideal situation will be, wherever such costs are not occurring uniformly, take those costs out. Give it as a reimbursement. Sir, for 50 workers I have paid PF. You give the challan, I pay that cost. Make it as a reimbursement. Don't allow them to include in the unit rate. This is one area where the cost saving will be there for the project. Quantity reconciliation. Quantity reconciliation is nothing but you invoice your customer, as I said, as per the billing schedule, as per your contract, you start billing the customer. Similarly, you are also paying your subcontractor for the work done. So one side you are making a claim from the customer, another side you are making the payment to the subcontractor. Whether these two are matching together. Suppose you have claimed 100 rupees from the subcontractor, whether the 100 rupees is only paid. You might have claimed 100 rupees from the customer, whereas you might have paid 200 rupees to the subcontractor. Why there is a gap? This reconciliation we have to do. Otherwise, what happens, they will say some story at the end. When you ask them to reconcile that, they will say, no, sir, this rework has happened, no, that particular thing he has not done properly, we have to incur again. All those things will come and hit the P&L at the last moment. So, as an auditor, if you track that from day one, probably some remedial measures the management can take so that the further loss of revenue will not happen. Wastage analysis. See, one beauty of construction project thing is, you all will be very happy to hear this. Yes. See, in a project, I'll tell one small example. See, you take steel. From finance parlance, what we do, when you, suppose you received 100 tons of steel, you take MRN for 100 tons. You issue 100 tons to the project. What happens? You put on indent, issue the 100 tons to the project. Okay. Now, what is your stock level? Stock level is 0. Now, this stock goes to the project. That is, it is in WIP. Now, the project team, they are using that steel for the project. At any point of time, this steel will be in different locations. One steel will be full bar, another steel will be cut into 2 pieces, another will be a small piece will be standing there, it will be laying there in different pieces, in different forms it will be lying there. If you want to ascertain whether the stock is perfect, I have given 100 tons, whether this 100 tons is properly used, something is there, whether this closing stock is perfect, you may not be able to identify that. For that, reconciliation is important. For that, reconciliation is important. How many tons I have taken? How many tons I have used for the project? Because all these usage are on a linear basis. You cut the length on length basis, you cut that and then put that. That measurement is something different. And finally, we have to reconcile that. I have issued 100 tons. How much you have really taken that to the project? How much you have used that for the project? And how much the closing stock ought to be there? How much is there? Then the difference between, suppose you should have 10 tons and you have only 8 tons. 2 tons difference is there. So 2 tons is lost. That is a wastage. And for each material, we have got a norm. Whether this wastage is as per the norms. If this wastage is not as per the norms, that means some rework has happened, or maybe some irregularities also might have happened. Materials would have gone out or somewhere. So this particular reconciliation helps us to keep track whether the wastages of the material are as per the norms. If the wastages are alarming, please raise the risk. We have to do a separate analysis of that. A separate audit has to be done for that and see whether the wastages are genuine. If some suppose when you do the real audit, maybe you may have to wear a cap of a forensic and then see whether according to the case, I am not saying all will be like that. Some genuine cases also will be there. If you feel some erratic things have happened in the project, probably it should be dealt differently. So for analyzing the wastage, it gives lot of inputs to you. Whether things are in order, whether the wastages are perfect, whether the things are going smoothly, or it is raising any alarms for us to look into that. All those things this wastage report will give you. Please check that. The last one is on the project costing and profitability report. This is very important report. In any project, if you see, if you go through this report, this is like a health card of the project. First thing, if you want to see, you just take the profitability report and then see that you can find out how the project is running, whether this project is on track or any issues are there or any areas we have to look into that. Everything will come to light in this project profitability report. Because in the profitability report, it is not like our P&L. Okay, this much sales I have done, this much cost, this is the profit. It is not that. You have done certain cost for future period also. Okay, which you have not billed. Okay, so that also will be sitting in the cost. So how to project that? Because you have to defer certain costs for the future period. And similarly, certain invoicing you can't raise now. It will be done only after 1 year. So you have to keep a track how the invoicing is going to happen, how the cost pattern is going to happen, any surprises are going to happen in between. You have to see. Once you go through that, probably you know where the problem lies. And whatever the profitability they are projecting, you can assess easily whether it is achievable or not. Okay, so this is very important for the auditor. These are all the areas, I would say we can add a lot of value to the management. Okay, all these things, what I am saying is, it's not that you don't know, but it takes a backseat. So only thing what I am suggesting is, if you really put your mind into that and then drill down that and then look into that, though this may appear to be a routine thing, probably we can add lot of value. These are all the areas, just like that we can hit 6 and then go. You need not worry about anything. And these are all the areas where the project have to take due care by themselves. It's not that from auditor we should tell that. But in a situation like this, where it is a fast-moving, situation, probably it's not intentional, but maybe people may tend to skip. But as a third eye, when you go there, probably we can help them to plug all these areas. Safety issues, it's again a general area, but very important area, and it should be a high priority always. Like I said, like how it is taken in the airlines industry. So construction industry is also similar to that. No accident can occur in any project. It should be a zero tolerance for the safety. And it is everyone's subject. Don't think that a safety person only should come and tell. It is not that. See, we have put a culture in L&D that safety is everybody's baby. Okay, suppose if I go as a finance person to the any project, I will see how safety is there. If I see any lapse, I will escalate to the higher management, telling that in this project I visited and I think people are not wearing helmet and people are working in the high-rise area and without safety belt. All those things we can escalate. So it is not that a safety engineer should come, he should come and visit, he should put it in the report. It is not like that. Anyone, it is everybody's baby, safety. So that culture we have to adopt. It is a direct bearing on the productivity, I said in the beginning. So to come to the normalcy, it will take minimum 2 weeks to the normal routine environment. Safety compliance should be part of your audit report. So when you see any lapses, when you go for the audit, if any, whatever be the thing, don't see whether it is material, I should report that in the audit report, don't do that. Suppose you see few workmen are not wearing the safety helmet, you can put that. What we do now, we take a photograph and then put it in the report. But of course, that will not be well received by the operations. When you put a person not wearing a thing, but only to create the awareness. So then they will feel, nowadays they have taken photo, it will come in the report, it will go to the top management, we have to be careful. No, those type, it will give only a jerk to the thing. So finally, as an auditor, we can take a call whether to put that picture or not, but to create some, an importance in the minds of the project team, probably we can do that. Health and environment, again, another area is connected to safety. Proper housekeeping is very important. See, in project site, if you go, it will be very, very, the atmosphere will be like that, it will be real action-oriented atmosphere. See, lorry will be coming, this will be going, material will be coming, one side construction will be going, people will be assembled and some pep talk will be given, all those things will be happening there. And in that, maintaining the proper housekeeping is very difficult. So material, if it comes, put it in the proper place and keeping it properly, arranging that so that all the materials are kept properly, and the dust and other things. Vehicles will be coming and going. It will create dust and the pollution will be there. So so without and proper watering should be done. So when any material movement are there, proper watering the ground should happen. Otherwise, the dust will be too much. And all those precautions we have to take. Whether they are doing that, we have to see that. The next area is on the scrapyard and disposal process. This is one area we need to be very, very careful, and this is one area which can lead to revenue leakage. Because generally, people don't give that much importance. Okay, this is scrap. Okay, sell it off. But people should not misuse that, and and we have to be very careful. This is one grey area. Auditors should really look into that, processes for scrap generation, processes for disposal, and accounting of scrap collection. Sometimes the people will not pay by normal banking channels. Sometimes they pay cash. All those things will be there. Especially I am talking about mid-size and small-size firms where we cannot say that you only give by check. All those things are practically difficult. The vendor will not have a proper thing. He will just come and give cash and then go. All those things are there. So properly, whether it is accounted, what sort of proper authority should come from the higher law officers, how is the process being evolved for scrap disposal. Probably as an auditor, you have to look into that. And any loopholes for revenue leakage, it is our duty to highlight. Labor camp and facilities. this, you should go for a labor camp and see. As I said in the beginning, for site visit, and you should go to the labor camp and then visit, because these things, we keep 1 week time to complete our financial audit, we do that, just we go. Because these are the areas we think, okay, labor camp, who will go? What is there to see? So that attitude we should never have. Okay, because getting labor itself is difficult. They should be happy to work in the project. So whether the proper facilities are given and whether the required, whatever the statutorily we have to provide and whatever the basic amenities are there, we have to see that. As I can just tell one example. See, when we were doing a project in Bangalore, our chief executive, he went to Bangalore. Okay, that was a lunchtime. Okay, so what happened? There was no proper shed for the subcontract workers to have food. They were all sitting outside, hot sun they were having. He saw that. Then what happened? He was so upset. What is this? The workers, in the hot sun they are sitting and then having food. Immediately he ordered for put a shelter. Okay, so whether the subcontractors are doing that, he said, no, we have to do that. Okay, workers are important. They should be happy enough. They cannot sit like this, in open sun and take the food. That is, these are all the tones from the top. Management should feel. All organizations may not do that, but we have to blow our whistle. We have to tell the management that they are taking. I am telling you one thing. Whether this particular point to be reported or not, whether I should tell this particular point or not, whether the management will receive it rightly or not, don't think about it. It is your duty to report. That's it. You report whatever you want to report. It is up to them to take it. You do your job. That's what I said in the beginning of the story. You do your job. Whether it is accepted, whether they are putting the report in the dustbin, that is not your botheration. You have to do your job. So that at least 10 times if it's done, 11th time probably something will move, some miracle can happen. That is how we have to see our job. Medical facilities, first aid at the project. So probably we have to see, only thing, this expired medicine should not be there. That we have to take. So that is one area, you have to just sample check and then see. Okay, the medicines, nobody will be using. Even small medicine, Dolo, Crucin, it will be lying, purchased 3 years back. In the first aid box, it will be there. And if something happens to them, that will become a big another issue. Okay, so they will take this medicine, where you have taken, the store only given this medicine, and why, when you see it is already, why expired medicine is coming there, and what sort of care you are having, that will become another issue. Okay, so take care of these medicines and other things, especially the shelf life, we have to be very, very careful. Certain basics. Are we doing this? We have to really introspect ourselves. Because though it looks basic, as I said, basic, are we doing this? Ask yourself. Cash verification. Are we doing cash verification? We take cash, everything. What is the book balance? Okay, fine, everything will be fine. Let us not verify. It can lead to complications if it is not done. If again it's a person-centric, if that particular thing, when the people know that these are not being followed, people can deviate the rule. So please, at least surprise visit. When you go there, you do some surprise visit. Check that. It's not that we are doing with suspicion. We are doing our job. Bank reconciliation. How many of us are checking the bank reconciliation nowadays? Bank reconciliation, okay, everything is fine. We are not even going through the reconciliation items. I am telling you, we have in some of the forensic cases where I just took lead. Many of the cases, I would say, the lead comes from the triggering point comes from the bank reconciliation. People have not seen the bank reconciliation. Okay, most of the cases, if you see, the link will come, somehow it will come to the bank reconciliation. So never take it as granted. Look into the reconciliation items, whether the checks deposited or properly, why it is taking time. Okay, even accounting the bank charges, if anything is there, how it is being done. Any unreconciled item if it is hanging there, please look into that thoroughly. Physical verification of inventory. Again, though we say that perpetual inventory system is there, they do all those things, when you go as an auditor, you should select few things, few A item, B item, C item, and then check whether they are doing, more than checking whether the process is being followed, you have to see. Okay, it is not that one day you go and check, everything will become right. But as a process, they have to follow that. Transfer of materials between sites. This is again a common thing in construction project. Okay, the same city in, you take Calcutta, 2 projects L&T will be doing. Okay, one material will not be there. They will ask the other side. Okay, give it. Okay, these people will send the material. When I get the material, I will give back on a loan basis. Whether it has gone with proper documentation or where that material has gone, whether it has really gone to that site only, nobody knows. Because there is no document. Okay, on just on a face value, he is asking, I am giving. And this will also will forget. Okay, because of the work pressure, after 15 days, 20 days, okay, then suddenly somebody reminds, yeah, that day I sent that material, it has not come. Then only he will wake up. Okay, so whether any such cases are happening, and if I'm not saying no to that, but you do that, it is a requirement because progress has to happen. When you do that, also ensure that the material comes back. That is also a responsibility. Spot check of laborers, because the labor component will be tremendous in a construction project. So you should go and check this. Take one particular contractor and then take his roles and see how many people are working there. You should take the attendance of that and then create a sense of a process. Yeah, we have this process. Otherwise, people are granted some 50 people they said will come. 50, whether 50 is there or 20 is there, nobody knows. Then if you ask why there is a gap, no, they are working in another area. They say, where we go and check all these things. And as far as possible, ensure that the digital platform is installed in that. All this face reading machine, thumb impression, all those things have come. You need not take the proper, the traditional way of doing that. Okay, scanning the face machine have come. All those things are there. So now advanced level of taking controls are there. So probably whether that is being followed, you have to see. And there also, people are very clever. Okay, all these systems are there, but when you see whether it is put into use, again it's a big question. When you go as an auditor, you see whether people will not be scanned through the proper missions. If you ask why, sir, last 2 days machine is not working. This is the answer they will give. Common answer. What you will do as an auditor? No, it was working, sir. Last 2 days, it's creating some problem. You can't do anything. You have to trust on the face value. So if people want to deviate and do that, you can't help. But as a process, whether it is being followed, we have to see. And capital ledger balances, any advances, labor deposits, small things. See what happens, these deposits will be there only for 2 to 3 years till the project is over. After that, there won't be any father, mother for that. And people will get transferred to some other project. Okay, nobody will remember that. And all these things, will go as a write-off at the end. And labor receipt, where is the receipt? No, it is in the site office. Somebody will say, no, we have sent to head office. Receipt will not be there. Okay, chalo, put write-off. That's it. So it will all go in the drain. So proper documentation should be there. There should be a person, a proper close-out should be there. That process, what is that you have to check. After the project is, who will be the key people will be there? Who will be following up to get these refunds? These are all very, very important. Proper close-up should happen. That is invariably will not happen. Because when the company gets various orders, people will be moved here and there. Okay, key people will be moved. And some small subcontract workman will be there. He may not know what is that. So ultimately when the final close-out happens, all these monies, proper documents will not be there. You can't go and chase. You may have to travel. For getting that refund, you have to spend more than that amount. So management will take a call, okay, put it right. See, all these are just eroding your margins. Security arrangements is very, very important. We don't think about that. Who is the security? And what is there, how they are appointed, and how many people are there. And see, in security, many of the fraudulent cases, if you see, the link will be with the security. So this is another input I am giving you, because we generally see that okay, security is there, we leave with that. But the security fellow will be the informer in many cases. So whether these people are rotated properly, we have to see. Don't make one person to work continuously for the whole project. The people should be rotated, and say 2 agencies should be appointed. All those control checks should be put into place, so that the security also knows that he can't play around. So with this, I have completed the focus areas, what we can do. Now, for doing an effective audit, what are all the strategies we can adopt as an internal auditor? I just want to share and then close the presentation. Risk-based audit plan to provide better assurance. This is very, very important. So your audit plan should be based on the business risk. Otherwise, the management will have certain risk. You will be reporting something. There won't be any link with that. So a risk-based plan will always be better welcomed by the management. Understanding of the contract, construction processes, and interaction with the project team. So as I said in the beginning, a proper discussion with the project team should happen, and proper pre-audit meeting should happen, and what are all the expectations from the project team should be properly documented, and the team should work towards meeting that requirements. Off-site audits. See, now this is a new audit mechanism which is being followed across. See what happens, especially the construction projects, what happens, the project, as I said, it is spread out at various locations. You can't go to certain projects. And compared to the project value, the time and the money what you are going to spend for the audit is not that worth. So what we can do, get all the documents, get all the requirements, sit in the main office, do the audit. So your procurement areas will get covered, or subcontract areas will get covered in the head office. And only thing, certain areas like your statutory compliances or labor compliances or any other important requirements which you feel you have to do only at the project site, maybe one person can go for that. That also if it required. Otherwise you need not do that. So your travel cost is minimized. Okay, sitting at one place you can do the audit. More than that, the coverage can also increase. In the travel time, you can add 1 or 2 audits and then you can increase your coverage. So that is another advantage of that. Adequate emphasis on technical aspects, as I said already, review of operation efficiency, quality parameters, safety. These are all areas, if you look into that, definitely management welcomes an observation or value addition point in these areas. Have multidisciplinary team, I already touched that. Co-sourcing and guest auditor are the best option for that. Co-sourcing, you can get the help. If you are doing in-house audit, you can take the help of an external firm. Because not all areas we can do, as I said. Suppose you want to do a safety audit for a project. You can take an expert from a practicing firm and then appoint them for as a safety auditor and do that. For example, you want to see how the IT infrastructure security measures are there. Probably as a finance man, we may not be able to do much justice to that. Take a person who is expert in that, give a special assignment to him and then ask him to do that. So like that, based on the areas where you want to concentrate, you can take the help of an external person and then do that. And guest auditor concept also is picking up in the corporates. That is, a person, we did in L&T once. See, we wanted to do a plant and machinery audit, exclusively plant and machinery audit. So what we did, we took one expert from the plant and machinery department. Okay, so he came and joined for audit along with the audit team. So he is from operations. He joined the audit team. Only for that assignment, he was used for that audit. And in the process, he shared what are the good practices he was following there in his particular company. He was sharing with the other people. It was a learning also. Okay, so they are also getting motivated. See, he can say in his appraisal, no, I have done as a guest auditor for one assignment. No, that will be a weightage for his performance also. So he is also happy in that. Data analytics and exception auditing. This is the order of the day. See, just a couple of days back, I attended one seminar. So there also, the speaker was touching about this. See, you cannot do an audit based on the sampling basis. Okay, some purchase orders, how many, you are doing a purchase audit. Okay, in the purchase audit, 1,000 purchase orders are there. You say 1,000 purchase orders are there, in that I have done some 5% audit, I have selected these purchase orders and then these are all there. Just go away, you will say, the management. I don't want your observations. So they may not like this. They want to cover 100%. They are talking about population. Suppose you have 1,000, have you checked all the 1,000 purchase orders? This is what they will ask. So the sampling technique, all those things are outdated. So for that, you have to use tools. So you have to analyze all the purchase orders, then threadbare analysis first you should do. You should break down, take an exceptions out of that, and then put a logic for your audit, then do the audit. Because no longer this sampling basis and other things, they are all gone now. So you have to use IT tools, you have to do analytics, and then you have to select, put your proper logic for selection, then you have to present it to the management. Then it will be well received. And even in such cases, then they will say, no, that data is corrupt, this data is corrupt, they will say. That is possible. Okay, I am not saying no to that. But at least you can be very sure that the data what you are taking or the approach what you are doing is perfect. Instead of saying, I have hand-picked some few purchase orders and then I am reporting that. It's better than that. Okay. So with this, let me say thanks to all of you for the patient listening, and then I thank once again ICA SIRC for the opportunity. It was a great experience for me to share some of my thoughts with you all. Now, any questions I'll be happy to receive. And my only request is, see, what I would suggest is, any questions I welcome based on the presentation what I made. If anything specific to your organization, because that I may not be able to answer in a forum like this. Probably if you have got any personal question, specific question, you can always ask me during lunchtime, which I will be able to discuss and take along. Now I request to restrict the questions only to the discussions what we had, so that everybody will get benefited out of that question.
What are the
quality parameters? What are the quality parameters available
For what, sir?
for the construction?
Quality parameters, mainly, the cost. See, what happens, the many cases, under the pretext of quality, the cost overruns are going on. Okay, so probably that is one area we need to check. Okay, then another thing, timely completion. Okay, that is one thing. If a project is timely completed and taken care of all the laid down procedures, and it is taken as one of the quality requirement. And people also know, the good people have to be posted there. See, when we put the subcontractors, a proper evaluation, as I said, because a substandard people or substandard material, if it goes to the project, probably it will hamper that. So material part, we have to be very, very careful whether the right material goes for that. And similarly, the quality of subcontractors is very, very important. Then added to that, your safety, environment, all those things should be taken care.
If there is any architect certificate, you can take it.
If any
Architect certificate for the
architecture,
architect certificate for the building. If there is any certificate, that you can take it.
yeah, if you are able to get, fine. But who will give that? Because what happens, most of the cases, the design, the customer will take care of that. Because he will not give that. See, in big companies like L&T, we also do the design and then do that. But most of the cases, the design factor, that is why I said in the beginning. They say 5 towers, then 5 will become 2 in that 1 floor will not come, all those things. Why they are doing that? Because design is with them. They may not compromise on that. Because if anything, and for the construction people also, it is better. Because if you take the design, if something happens to that building, then you are responsible for that. Okay, something happens to the tower, like that Mughaliwakam episode, if something happened, then who did the design, people will ask. If you have done the design, then you are responsible. Then you can say, the customer has done the design, he is responsible, then you can raise your hands. You are not responsible for that. Only for the work you are responsible for that. Yes, sir.
When you have projects across multiple divisions,
Okay, sir.
your buildings and your power, something like that, how complex is it? How do you handle the audit?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Very, very complicated. See, even for the auditors, for us, we spend a lot of time. See, one thing for this, we need to increase our knowledge on the business as an auditor. See, it is not that you should do a checklist type of audit. First of all, we should equip our knowledge as an auditor in the business. See, as I said, each business is different. What is applicable for factories is something different. Commercial buildings separate. Everything is power, water business, everything is different. Solar, everything is. So you need to spend time with the business people. But are we doing that? But if you ask me frankly, the question is no. So how to develop that? See, actually when you see practically what happens, as an auditor, we don't have time even to read. Because most of the time we'll be traveling or doing auditing or work environment will be there, we don't have time to read. So we need to put a structured format for learning. If it is a company-based, in-house company internal audit team, you should have a regular meeting for enhancing your knowledge. You should have study circle meeting should be there. See, in L&T what we do, we call experts from the business units. Okay, suppose in 1 month, every month internal audit team will have a meeting. So in that we call, suppose from the power business we call one expert. He will come and share the technical areas. In another meeting we call how the profitability statement is prepared. So he will come and tell. So this is how we also get to know the knowledge. So the knowledge improvement, knowledge learning is a little complex, but to get that, effort should come from our end. So we should not feel that okay, I know everything, this is the area, then you cannot, and slowly, you're getting outdated. So now in present day, if you have to survive as an internal auditor, your business knowledge has to be top class. It is to be updated. Then other things. You say, in 100%, you should have 75% business knowledge. Then only you can speak in equal terms with the business people. Otherwise, you'll be speaking some theory to them.
I'm sorry, my question was when you have a project where both divisions are involved.
Okay.
Like buildings and power, for example.
See what happens, sir, in such case, practically what happens, maybe in a small companies it may happen. In L&T, what happens in a big company like L&T, the same people will do that. They will take that order, they will outsource to somebody else. The control will be within them only.
No, I understand. I'm talking about L&T context. I understand you have a concept of a parent division and a child division sometimes.
Okay.
When you take up projects. And there are large projects. For example, a building in a power plant. For
Okay.
example. So the buildings division and the power division both come into the picture.
Correct.
For 2 or 3 divisions.
Correct.
Where one division is considered the parent division, maybe it has got the bigger contract.
Correct.
and the other is considered the secondary or the child division.
Correct.
How do you plan an audit for that?
See, if you ask from L&T angle, see, we have clearly have a demarcation of the responsibilities. In construction, we do pure construction only. We don't get into that operations side. Suppose A company is giving order to the B company, both are L&T companies. Okay, a separate team will do A, a separate team will do the B. So that a same person will not do that. But what we do, your question is very important. There should not be any loose ends. See, otherwise what happens, I will be reporting only from the construction angle, the other person will be reporting only from the customer angle. Okay, so what we do now, in such cases, we do a joint audit. One person from the construction, one person from the operations, both will do, so that the report will be a consolidated report. See, for them there should be a single report. You cannot say, no, the construction, this is not there, that is not there. But whereas the other side, there will be a lot of loose ends will be there. Whether the target line is going to be met, whether the timely completion is going to be adhered, all those loose ends, that will get unnoticed. Though reported, it may go as a separate report. But management want a single report. So that is how we do, sir. But in small companies, this loose end will be there. Because due to various reasons, they may give another auditor to do that. The same auditor, see, in L&D context, we are doing both. But whereas in another thing, since it's a company is different, they may give one internal audit team to somebody else and another auditor to do that. So there will be some gap. But we can always talk to the management and see any meetings we can have with them and then try to bridge the gap. See, ultimately the client should get what he wants. Yes.
Sir, at the time of using the expert
Expert
work for internal purpose,
okay.
What are the extra points to be taken care of at the time of incorporating those opinion in our report? Since we are not familiar with that at all, other than finance areas, so what are the extra points to be taken care?
See, for example, if I see this questions in two angles. One is, if you are using your own in-house talent, expert, as I said, for the plant and machinery, we did that, So he is our own person, there should not be any problem. But when you take an expert from an outsider, probably you should tell clearly the scope. See what you want in that. For example, I tell you, there are certain areas where you have to be very, very clear about your deliverables. For example, IT security. Okay, so what is your corporate objectives in that? And then what type of system they are using, and whether any hacking chances are there. All those things, whatever you want, how robust the data. See, nowadays we are talking about putting the data in the cloud and other things. We don't know where it resides. Suppose something happens, how the backup measures are there. Whatever you feel, put a document and then give to them. So that his scope also will be really clear. Later on he will not say, you have not told this, no, I have not done this. So your documentation for the scope of audit should be perfect. Take care of that.
On his report, how to validate, because simply we can't take that for the what he has given.
No, here also what happens, though he gives a report, see, our people will always be there with them. See, it's not that in such cases we give fully out. One person will be coordinating that. He will also need some help, So he will not just like that go and someone should accompany him from a coordinated type of thing will be there. So probably he should watch how things are going, and regular meetings should be happening. See, if they are doing 2 weeks audit, maybe after a week, you should have a mid-review system will be there, whether you have got all the data, whether the audit is going in the right track as per whatever your requirements are there. If it is any gaps are there, probably you should do some alignment to that and see that course correction is taken care, whether the audit they will be able to complete within that time, or whether they need some extra time, and whether what will be the cost impact. Everything, we need to decide on that. And one person should be a hand-holding for that. Till you get that grip, then you can give them. That is how you have to do. You cannot just like that give to them. Though you saw co-sourcing, outsourcing, still the responsibility lies on us. And the final outcome, we need to present to the audit committee. So audit committee, when it is presented, probably they also will be present there. So we should also know, we cannot say, we are given to them, they have done the audit. Okay, primary responsibility for us. Only thing, as getting a third eye view from them, getting a variety of, see, they may have some expert, their approach may be different to do the audit. Just to get that advantage, we are giving the course.
For a contract in Indian currency, is there a practice of issuing insurance policy in a foreign currency? Few insurance companies are doing that.
We have not come across, sir. See, because we have done some international projects only through their local offices only, it's not through Indian we have done that. And they also don't encourage that. So they want a local insurance company. Suppose something goes wrong, So they don't want to interact in a different country and then do that. So mostly they discourage. If it is a job project is done in a Bahrain, they want one Bahrain branch to take care of that. Maybe an Indian insurance company having a branch in Bahrain may be able to do that. But in most of the cases in international contracts, it is all driven by the contract. Even insurance, they say no, it should be a local insurance, you have to take through this agency only, like that, the restrictions will be there. And it is also operational inconvenience also, that is the best. See, when claim comes, then sending the surveyor, assessment, all those things will also be a problem. So for international projects, a local insurance company is better to go for the coverage.
Is that vice versa is happening for Indian projects where international insurance companies are engaged for coverage of policy?
I couldn't get you.
Vice versa of the one which you are told.
Indian for no, it's not that. See, here we have only local.
Only local.
See, again, sir, handling will become a problem. See, we need to see their claim settling capacity. See, whatever, though within 4 walls I can say, though it's a privatized, lot of private players are there. See, when you go to them for claim settlement, they make a student pillar to post. See, they don't have a proper policies. See, if you take a government company, for example, Oriental, New India, whatever it is, United India, they have got a proper approval limits. If the loss comes to 200 crores, the board will approve it. So it will go to board will approve. Here nobody knows who is the authority. In a private company, it is very shaky. See, they don't have proper norms, they don't have proper policy guidelines for that. Okay, sir, it has sent to that office, this man will come, that man will come, They just tell some stories, claims are not settled and it is hanging. So always, internally we prefer government companies for major projects. But we can't ignore private players also because we can't keep all in one basket now. If any further questions are there, I'll be happy to interact with you during lunchtime also. Good. Thanks a lot. It's a nice experience talking to you.
Thank you very much, Sridhar sir. That was an elaborate presentation. May I now request Venkatesh Surulu to come forward and present a memento to the speaker. Sir, you can come this side, sir. We can now break for lunch and reassemble by 2:30.